Hello and welcome to Unexplained Possibilities Podcast. I'm your host, Melvin the Crimson Taurus, and this is the last show of the year. Yes, 2021 has come to an end, and unfortunately, Niema can't be here to end it with us, which is okay because she's deep undercover investigating reports of break-ins by a jolly old fat man. So good luck to her, and hopefully she solves the case. But as you already know, if I'm on, that means someone else is with me, and tonight is no exception. Joining me is, of course, that Texas witch, along with the renegade occultist. You could say they're no super psychics, but they are the dynamic duo of the occult world. Please welcome Bonnie Woodruff and Kurtis Joseph.
What's up, guys? How's it going, brother?
It's a going. I actually did it right. Now I should probably turn this off. All right. So, yeah, I was going to complain and say, oh, I'm freezing. It's so cold over here. But I saw that kitten, she's dealing with minus like 31 degrees Celsius.
I don't know where. I'm not sure where she lives, but Ken, I know, is one of those because he's told me about it too. When you have to do, or if you got it upstairs,
Well, yeah, I mean, in Ohio, there's fire escapes on houses just to be sure that you can get out when it snows.
Oh, yeah.
6
So
feet of snow happens. It's just part of life,
It's raining over here, but you know what? Not gonna complain after hearing her thing. Oops, and just
Sorry,
sending.
my new kitten's distracting us.
Oh, it is all good. I am sending out these last few links, and
just trying to rip down the backdrop.
All right, cool.
This is Babylon.
All right, now we're full throttle. All right, so let's jump right into it because this has been a very interesting week. Oh, and before anything, so some of you guys may not know, but December 27th was the anniversary of Unexplained Possibilities. It was our birthday, which I didn't even realize until I saw a little notification saying, what was that? I don't know what that was. But anyway, saying that, yes, this is the day you started Unexplained. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
And on that day, we made a giant goal. We crossed the 400 subscriber mark thanks to the Super Psychic. So very appreciative of that.
Funny. I don't think that was quite her plan, but
it was not. But hey, I'll take it. Everyone is saying hello to you guys.
Hey guys.
So, Bonnie, I just looked at what you have on. So you have a Hunter x Hunter, Hunter cross Hunter shirt, and you got like a trucker hat happening. What's going on here? When did you turn into a nerd?
Oh, but you don't even. I wish you could see my jeans. Hold on, I found some old like the Jinko.
What is happening here?
Curtis said I look like an anime the other day.
You do. You look like Bulma, actually.
Who?
Bulma from Dragon Ball.
I'll have to. Oh. Well, when I had the short, my mohawk thing, I had one friend. He would call me Goku, or I'm like ass.
All right. Well, anyway, yeah, let's jump into it. So, Kurtis, I know you talk a lot about this, and light versus dark, good versus evil. What's going on with that? Is there an actual such thing as good versus evil and light versus dark?
Light and darkness do exist. They're two halves of one whole, but they are not opposed to each other. And I mean, when we look at, for instance, pagan religions or nature religions, they claim to worship nature, but yet they still adhere to these principles of absolute light, and that's not natural at all. absolute light, absolute darkness, these things are both equally blinding, you know? So, no, I think the darkness that exists in the world, it comes from the corrupt hearts of mankind, man. We can't on one hand deny Christianity and Christ, and on the other hand deny our own accountability for our actions in the world. So, I mean, we really just have to constantly strive to be the best that we can be, moment to moment. Yeah, that's it.
What's your thoughts, Bonnie?
Well, if you're talking about humankind or mankind in general, then you're not going to have anybody that's hopefully perfectly good or evil. Okay. We want to jump to conclusions a lot and assume we know more about something. You guys, like I said, y'all know I'm a true crime person, and me and Kurtis really got on a long discussion the other night because Stephanie Harlow, love her, and of course the Crime Weekly show she does with an ex-police officer, Derek Levasseur. Together they break down things, and he puts it the law, like, you know, how the law will handle it and why they handle it that way. Now, I will say, if there's good cops, definitely he would be one of them. You can tell he wants to do it for the right reasons. He was that kid that was like, I want to change the world, you know, very hopeful. And we look at people that have killed somebody and bad, we label them. And I'm going to make everybody cringe when I name this person. Casey Anthony. I don't even want to imagine what she did to our child. And if you just want, you know, my opinion only is that, yeah, she did it. However, if anybody recalls the case, we went ahead and labeled and just said she did it, and she's bad. She's a horrible, awful, bad person. We didn't even think that little speck of good that she might have had in her, or the thing that made her, maybe she was more on the, you know, the light spectrum and more positive, but something corrupted her and made the, you know, if you think of the yin yang, let's just say maybe she started out the white side, but she let that little speck of black in her grow into where it was the little tiny bit of the white left, right? Mm-hmm. One part of the case that people have seemed to ignore is the SA aspect of it, where, you know, she made those accusations toward her father. It's funny because we were so angry because of the atrocities she did. It was awful. But I think nobody even everybody just labeled a liar. And they were like, well, why wouldn't she have come forward a long time ago? Well, when does any victim, especially that's their wholeness, the person that they love, that thinks, you know. So it's kind of one of those things. It's like, you know, we are quick to label somebody good or bad, or good versus evil and such, and then we don't really think the whole aspect, their whole story that might have, maybe she thought she was protecting the child because, you know, the father, they said, you know, the grandpa had, you know, was absolutely enamored with Kaylee, the child, but I'm sure that probably brought back, you know, if the allegations that Casey made were true, then I get it. It's not okay. That's not the route or the, you know, choice I would have made, but I'm not her. And so we're quick to judge and label good and evil, and really everything has a story and a background behind it. What we do, if it's evil, maybe it's because we're out to get justice for somebody that was completely innocent, and we just went because of what we see on the outside of that person. Those people, the ones that want to go get justice, and they have no means or no, you know, there's no meaning or, you know, anything behind it to back it up. I'm kind of the way I've started looking at things are a lot different. And let me tell you, when I realized that I had some compassion for Casey Anthony, I got sick to my stomach, because we all know what she did, and we all know what that kind of person is. But yet I had to realize my imperfections, my own evil in me, allowed me to displace that, to ignore the fact that maybe something made her that way. So there you go.
You looked at the reasons.
I mean, I'd really like to specifically speak about this regarding the occult, because there's a lot. I mean, I was students of some of these people that write about this. They talk about the idea that good and evil are subjective. The thing is, this is based on Friedrich Nietzsche. The thing is, they are trying to apply this to the totality of philosophy, when that statement was made in a specific context. And that context was the fact that churchgoers of that time were calling people with money and people with power evil. Nietzsche's response was, well, good and evil are subjective. So it had a specific context, and now people are applying it out of context as if it's a part of some sort of higher spiritual path and knowledge, when in fact these people really don't have higher knowledge. They're rather uneducated. You know what I'm saying? The thing is, if something is subjective, it's not going to be stably defined. Good and evil have been pretty much defined for at least 2,000 years. We can say good and evil are subjective. And at the end of the day, that might be true in an asinine way. In other words, a pedophile might not see raping a child as evil. It might be pleasurable. But to everybody else in the neighborhood, it's wicked and it's evil. But that's not what we're fucking talking about here. We're talking about truth, not the sick and twisted perceptions of mankind. So the war between good and evil really exists within us. But in regard to nature, it doesn't. It doesn't. We go through it as human beings, trying to fight against these dark aspects of our psyche, these darker aspects of self, which is really a part of the great work. That's really what this is all about. The media can make it about having your wishes granted all you want, but we're talking about expediting human evolution, transcending the limits of duality, and becoming something better, you know, creating something else. Because all this is outdated. It's not serving us anymore.
Now, you just said a word, and it's going to switch us to something else. Transcending. Transcension. Okay, so Bonnie knows this. I hate the word ascend, ascended, ascension. I can't stand it. I think it's overused and it's stupid, because you're only going up. You're not really doing anything. You're going up, which is fine, whatever. And when you transcend, you break your limits. You actually can push yourself to that next level. So what are your thoughts on transcension versus ascension?
Well, ascension is based on ideologies of linear time. So there's either the path of ascent or descent. But true illumination comes from the expansion of consciousness. That's my view. And that's a 360-degree thing. Like, if we're actually claiming to be pagans and work in alignment with nature, what we should be doing is allowing our consciousness to expand with the fabric of this universe. Instead, we're opposing, and we're creating stasis, right? So these linear ideas of going to heaven or hell, they are really limiting. But that's the whole point of the creation of them, You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The entire point was to put mankind in a position where they had to choose either to feed their light or their dark side. And that means we're never fully in our power, and that means we are much easier to control.
What's the old proverb? Like, within me lies two wolves.
Yeah, within me lies two wolves. The one you feed is the one that becomes the strongest. That's an old Native American proverb.
So if it's good, if you're feeding constantly anger, hate, okay, if you're acting like a super psychic, then you're feeding one wolf. It's becoming, fat and full, right? It's almost obese. Then the one that is labeled as good and light and compassionate, if that one's not being fed, then it starves. I mean, and like everything else, it can starve to death. I'm sorry, Kitty is into stuff.
And that's the thing, we have to remember that we can't starve either side, because I mean,
cat cameo.
People try to say that, they're good witches or bad witches.
Are you a good witch or a bad witch?
Right.
Yes, sorry, I just am hearing the one.
But the idea is this, and this is ancient. I mean, people are trying to say that what I'm bringing forth is new and it's heresy, according to both the left-hand path and the right-hand path. Because I say, we have to work with both angels and demons. They are all daemons, spirits which are useful for the evolution of mankind. We have to learn how to use them in the proper context so that they both can work towards the greater good, right? So, man, as long as you're doing that,
well,
you're on the right track.
And it, to me, and it's kind of the way I can break it down, layman, the way you said it. It's like going to a foot doctor, but you need a brain surgeon. Okay, so like if you were if you don't know how to work with the demonic, okay, how are you ever going to understand despair, isolation, or like being rejection, straight passion? Like, they've fallen, they've fucked up, okay? They know, it's almost like they're closer to humans. They understand us more, I would say, than angelic. Because let's just be real, if it's of angelic nature, it's going to look, it's dead. And that's what's crazy, because to me in itself, knowing that angel's looking down at me like I'm scum, it's like, but how does that make him any better? But you know what I mean? So that's what the way that's kind of like what he was trying to explain. And it's just, you have to realize, are you going to go to a podiatrist for brain surgery? Probably. I would hope not. Yeah. And that's what's funny, because I think the super psychic says, like, why would anybody go, she tried to use the brain surgeon type, you wouldn't go to this, or no, she used some other term, but like it was construction type, weird. Anyway, and I'm like, actually, if you're wanting to learn a certain type of attribute, let's say you don't know how to stand up to people, I would go to which of the Belial would always kind of, because Belial don't take no shit, don't talk no shit, won't be no shit. So that's kind of like, if you need to, I would say more like courage and I give no fucks type mentality. Nobody's lesser than me. You know what I mean? I'm the shit. And it's like, so if you're trying to learn certain things, like, so going to Archangel Uriel is not going to help you in all cases. So you have to be able to know how to understand and work well with both.
Well, it's because they're the same.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we don't say yin and yang. It's yin yang or Tai Chi.
Mm-hmm.
Yin yang is actually Tai Chi.
Oh, yeah.
It's Tai Chi. That's the symbol. Why, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, okay, let's look at the tree of life as an example. Every sphere, every sephira on the tree of life is associated with specific organs, specific biological processes. So, one occultist who I look up to a lot, who has taught me a lot in regard to being a magus, Mark Allen Smith, he revealed to me his method of healing. And he talked about how he would take the illness and send it to the shadow side of the Qliphoth, because that's where that stuff resonates. That's where he can send it. And because it resonates there, that's where it remains. But if you deny the existence of these things, you call them evil, you can never develop a relationship with them because there's some sort of subconscious blockage. The gates will not open for you to place those sicknesses where they would belong as shells, excretions of creation, which don't belong here, because you don't have a working relationship with them.
So how
and
would
at the
one...
same time, it opened up huge doorways in regard to healing, because I realized that the medicines of these various ailments most likely can be found with associated herbs and therapies upon the tree of life. And this is something that is even worth exploring in modern medicine, yet people aren't doing it.
How would one get through those blockages, though? How do you get through something that you've been fearing your entire life, that you've been taught to fear your entire life? Even if you don't want to, because at that point, it almost becomes second nature. So how do you get through that type of mental training?
I think for me, it'd be a case-by-case basis. You can't, everybody's going to be different. My family thinks I am the most evil thing. They don't get it. They don't want to. There we go. They don't want to get it. Now, if only they would realize that, if we want to send our sickness somewhere, well, and we want to send it, and let's just say it has to go somewhere. So if it's going to the dark side, right, of the tree, then if I don't want your fucking nasty diseases alone, keep them yourself. You know what I mean? I'm not saying you have to have respect, but you have to be able to have understanding and it's not just trying to be relatable to others, and that's the thing. I think that has been, I kind of really been thinking about it with Super Psychic. I was even trying to be nice, and it was like, I was trying to help her to understand how to be more relatable to people, because if she's trying to put herself on this pedestal way up here all the time, well, how is a person going to ever feel like they can go to her without being judged? Because we all know she's judging, right? So it's like she doesn't realize by putting yourself up on a pedestal above others, where you're looking down all the time, well, you're not exactly the person I am going to be able to feel comfortable telling my inner demons to, because guess what? I do not think that you can understand or relate to me whatsoever. And it's not saying that I don't, but there is a level of not having as much respect, because this person's never dealt with anything bad. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just because he's up here, you had a lucky hand, is kind of how I look at it. So if you're more relatable, if you can understand both sides, if you can open your mind, because if you can break the cycle, maybe for those that are willing and capable of trying to open it, I think those people will know, because they'll be drawn to it, and it'll probably make them feel a little bit wrong. You know what I mean? Like they need to go pray, or there's something wrong with them, and that's the sad part. Is that's only because the other side, you only have that version, right? Mm-hmm. And what's funny is the other day, it's been weird, because I've had a lot of weird, just random, kind of things that with the whole super psychic, you know, and Elvis's soulmate and all that, you know, with her, and then the Casey Anthony, I'm like, I am not like it. You know what I mean? I was realizing it has triggered and opened something in me that I've had to face. And I wouldn't say, because I have changed so many of my thoughts since I started this path. It's been a blessing in so many ways. I would never go back. However, when you get a download, and I think Kurtis can understand this one, sometimes
I'm getting one right now.
You'll get so much in, and it's like, God damn, I thought it was only, you don't ever think it can get crazier, but then it does. So here I am. I've been working, and I do realize now it's crazy that it was Lucifer that gave me this message. But the other day, I wrote to her. I said, even, Yeshua, because that's how she can call it not Christian, and it's, when it comes to the super psychic, she has to have a certain way. We'll just say she's more on the Christian side of things, and that's fine. However, she's trying to make sure she don't have a label. Because she's wanting to be edgy. She wants to be something she wants. And if you want to be a Christian, whatever you want, just be it. Don't lie. Don't try to hide who you are. But what I was given was, Yeshua even used the scum of the earth. He used tax collectors. He used fucking thieves.
Well, he turned the tables on the tax collectors. He spit in the face of the church. Now, this was a download I was getting. And let me say this on record because I'll lose it. And this is important. I did work in something called the Anthology of Gnosis. It was free. It was called Jesus, a Vessel of Blackened Fire. But I explored scriptures that talked about how Jesus Christ proclaimed that he was Lucifer. Scriptural evidence of this. Now, within the biblical text, it says, "O Lucifer, how thou art fallen." And it talks about how Lucifer says he is going to ascend into the heavens and rise above the throne of God, right? Now let's look at Christianity. If Jesus Christ is Lucifer, and he said that he was, because he said, "I am the bright and morning star," which is Venus. That's Lucifer, guys. It just is. It's associated with the light of the sun and the light of the moon as well, the bringer and bearer of light, but primarily Lucifer is Venus. This is why Christ's message was love, basic human respect. It's not rocket science. But Lucifer was supposed to ascend into the heavens and rise above the throne of God. Now, who is being worshipped in every fucking Christian church around the world? Jesus Christ, Lucifer. He has risen above the throne of God.
It's funny how I was given by Lucifer, even Yeshua, but this is, I was supposed to, that's what I was writing in text to, the super psychic. I was trying to explain, because in a way that's relatable to her, and that's why Yeshua was worded. Even Yeshua chose 12 of common man. He didn't use people on pedestals. He didn't use people with flaw, or that have made mistakes. He actually, what is the scripture? When you were raised super Christian, you remember both sides, and that's why at first I was always wanting to challenge them with their own word, and I would, and I still do if I get the chance. It's fun because they'll drop. They are not expecting it, but I'm more balanced than I've ever been for me. That's how I feel. And most people that know me can see it. It might be step backish to some of them, but it's funny because I work with some people that were really weirded out by first. Now they kind of make it fun and joking, and they are respectful. In fact, they'll joke with me because I work with men, and they'll be like, "We're putting out Christmas decoration." He goes, "Bonnie, you look like you're getting triggered." Are you okay? And I said, if somebody hands me a baby Jesus, though, it ain't gonna look, you know what I mean? I'm gonna be hanging them upside, I'm gonna do something crazy. And they all started laughing. They didn't get upset. They didn't go, "Booty hurt." A couple of them looked like they were going to faint because it just, "Woo, what did she just say?" But when Yeshua put it this way, it was like these, or when Lucifer did, he like the 12. He chose 12 random people, you and me. Like now, when somebody elevates themselves, when they do not understand their ego and understand the importance of it being balanced, you want to have some sort of where you are proud, or you know what I mean? Because otherwise, you're going to be dangling over despair and depression.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at this, because when you're talking about magic, we really are talking about laws within nature, and even our own biology. Like, the totality of the body exists. We are all connected. We are all one. But each individual cell still has to have its fucking purpose.
Can I get an amen?
So there is. I mean, this is not rocket science. I don't know why humanity's having such a hard time picking up what I'm throwing down over here. It's really not fucking rocket science. You know what I mean? You got to be kind of understanding that you, or as a person in this world, have specific gifts, talents, abilities that can contribute to this world in productive ways. Sure. But we also understand that there's a collective, and that we can't hurt somebody else without hurting ourselves. It's just not possible. Now, it's different when a person is akin to a cancerous cell. It has to be surgically removed for the health of the totality. And in that way, cursing, again, used in its proper context, still serves the greater good of all. When you're actually wise, and this is the craft of the wise. Not too many people are actually wise anymore.
No, and that's right. You know what? And this is perfect, because I've been talking to Kurtis about it, because it hit me, and I haven't got to tell you much more, but I did last the other night, but I have a cousin and we were raised together, and we both went to the churches where they put their hands up on the walls and go, "Oh Jesus," and they'd fall to the ground, and I went, "Oh my God, Pigeon Jones would have been proud."
Was it black church?
Dude, well, yeah. Well, this was more of just non-denominational, and I honestly, there are a couple of things that preacher has said to me that never felt judgmental, even because I guess I sound like a serial killer. But I've always had that feeling inside of me. I've always been drawn to the darker side. When you're around and you've seen the dead as a kid, you have to be able to understand death and the not so pretty things. So I think that's kind of part of it. It was just natural for me to be a little more curious about it. And I always hated that my dad, or when I'd go to church, I don't know, I would raise my hand like hey, what's your question? I was a kid. Anyway, but like I remember actually one time at work, and the preacher's like, and I asked him, I asked him to explain about dinosaurs, and my dad's like, like he was just like, do not bring science into the name of the church, the house of the Lord. It wasn't that bad, but it felt, now I realize it's like, no, blind faith, blind, don't know. Okay.
Well, I wanted to know why I was eating skin and drinking blood. I thought it was a zombie cult. When I was a kid, I didn't get it.
Toby did it.
Why are we pretending this even? It's ill. Because I knew it was pretend. It's a cracker.
Yeah, Toby did the same thing. He ran down the things.
Yeah.
I know drink blood.
Body of Christ, blood of Christ. Yeah.
Like, no, he kept. Well, and you know what's funny? You look at the mouth of a babe, right? But I remember he was watching that preacher too. He had his eyeball on him, because my church that I had, we did communicate. What's it called?
Communion.
I said communication. No, but anyway, so between the church that I preferred, which was a crazy church, and then I was raised Methodist, and it was so funny because it's very similar to Catholic. And Toby's watching it. I see you, dude, because he keeps the body of Christ shed for you, the blood of Christ poured for your sins, and he kept saying it over and over. By the time he gets to Toby, he slaps it away and says, "I don't drink blood," and he runs. And I'm so shocked because everybody's laughing, and I'm having to run down the aisle to go chase my child that's terrified of our cult. I get it. We're afraid. People are afraid, and we've got to quit being afraid. What is it that we're afraid of? That maybe we are somebody that we're
afraid of ourselves, and we're afraid of our power. And I mean, getting back to the original question, when you were asking, how do you block it? How do you block this? We need to understand that this is all encoded in ancient religions, and it's all encoded in our biology, like the Ida and the Pingala, the twin serpents of the yoga traditions, the Vedic traditions. Mm-hmm. These represent solar and lunar currents within mankind. Our conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Red and white blood cells, sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, vascular and cardiovascular disease.
What I just got?
Or systems. But, one second. So, there's an importance of understanding that these Hermetic principles make sense. As above, so below. As within, so without. When we look at these twin serpents, these are the double helix of the human genome. There's microcosm and macrocosm. And then when you look at the universe and take a picture of the neural network in our brain, they are exactly the same. Again, microcosm, macrocosm. It's in nature. Mm-hmm. And all these people claiming to be preaching about these nature religions and understanding the powers of both light and darkness, they aren't grasping it. So the thing is, we need to understand that it's not about stopping these blockages. It's about understanding that there's no fucking blockage. It's a part of you.
Right.
And when you're fighting against it, you're fighting against a part of self. And when you're fighting against a part of your own psyche, that which does feel natural, this is going to cause unnatural mental ailments, emotional instability, sickness, disease. And it's logic, man.
This actually it turns around back to the example you gave with the body of Christ, blood of Christ, because we could look at that as a form of control and actually taking you away from this natural order, because now you're giving yourself to, well, I guess in this case, this religion. And if you don't do this, you don't get saved, you die. And it closes off your mind for that free thinking, looking beyond. Wow. And, it sucks. So in a way, Toby, actually being a little prick he is,
right?
He probably, in an odd way, saved himself because his mind is still open. And he questioned. And that's the worst thing you can do, is question.
Right.
I mean, that really, truly is an act of liberation. That is an act and a means to psychologically reprogram the mind to prevent those blockages from occurring. And I mean, it's pretty normal within most left-hand path mystery schools, if you want to call them that. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of them are just made up by people, random fucking people. But regardless, they have these rituals where you will blaspheme God and burn a Bible and things like that.
And it don't have to be all that
dramatic. It really doesn't.
Right. And what's funny is, because I remember this, what I not let myself forget it. What's funny is, of all days, a couple of things just kind of collided, just things that I've been thinking about. But my nephew kind of looked at me, and my other coworkers started laughing because they had already heard his dream. But he wanted basically a dream interpretation, and I heard the answer like that. He said he was sorry. It's not funny, but it is. He said he was at his cousin's house in his dream, and her son runs up and jumps in her lap, and she looks at her son and says, "Oh, baby, that's got to feel awful." And she goes in, she takes this tool and pops out his eye. Oh. She starts trying to rub it and turn it correct. So after she couldn't turn it correct, she pulls it out, right? She's rubbing, trying to clean it off. And I said, oh God, it's like you're not seeing exactly what you're supposed to see. You're trying to turn the other way every time that you're faced with the truth or faced with something that's uncomfortable because that's not what you were told or that's not what you were programmed to believe. That's my best. It's like, okay, when you say, how do you remove this from you? How do you like ignore it? You're supposed to see it. You're supposed to see. If you were raised by overly Christian, you're supposed to see both all the wonderful things and remember those, but also the things that, if you're even questioning, if you're doing magic or left-hand path, let me tell you, if you're doing that, then you do question it. Whether you want to admit it to yourself or not, whenever you are ready, come back, rewatch this or whatnot, But if it is in your head, you have to, what that message is telling you, you're supposed to see both good and bad in the middle of, and those around it, surrounding it, right? So the people around it too, right? You've got to, let's see the people representing it. Are they good representatives? Or are they bullshit? Or would you know what I mean? Like, would you be nervous, like, if y'all are all sitting at a table and you have to get up and pee because you know they're fixing to talk about you? Are they people that you feel comfortable with or one that you can be whole with? So if this is that religion and if those the people that support that religion or belief system, if you vibe with that, then there you go. There's no reason to have to try to ignore it anymore. Because if you're questioning it, when you get that eye where it's not trying to turn around and go cockeyed or whatnot, every time it's challenged with truth and having to face it. Like, I didn't want to face things how toxic and unfortunately narcissistic and mentally manipulative and emotionally abusive my mother has been to me for years. Like, I have literally been the proud black sheep, and I'm like, my parents are always waiting for me to fuck up so they can come fix me. And I realized, oh my God, I understand how Casey Anthony, see, it all ties back. There's so much I can say that I can relate. I just chose differently. I am no better than her. I'm no worse, but I am no better.
And that's true. We really do not have any reason to judge anybody. And this is what's fun.
Sorry.
We don't. It's a hard pill to fucking swallow, but it's just the simple fact that none of us are perfect. I mean, like Lucifer or Christ said, let he who has not sinned cast the first stone. Judge not, lest you be judged first. Why were these things said? Well, because none of us are fucking perfect. None of us are fucking perfect. And we start feeling self-righteous. The first thing we do is start looking at other people and seeing their fucking bullshit. But we all got bullshit.
Because we don't have to face our own. We can point at theirs and feel
yeah, we all have bullshit. There's nothing to judge anybody for. There's people in prison for murder that were wonderful parents, believe it or not. There's people in prison for rape that were the best culinary students in the fucking world. We're all good in some ways. We're all not so good in other ways. The thing is, when it becomes evil, that's under the influence of a corrupt mind of mankind, a corrupt heart. It's not a dark god. It's not a demon. You know what I mean?
And like, okay, even with the whole thing, we were watching.
We're accountable.
Yes, the whole thing, and the thing with
that's
Casey
the whole
Anthony,
point of not being Christian, right?
Isn't that crazy? It's and okay, with the whole thing with Casey Anthony, we realized at that point, it's like, how is it that they said she at one point she was a wonderful mother, but something changed. Now, I haven't timed it back because now I'm curious. Is okay if I been, oh God, I hope I'm not been this judgmental. And just because I'm being so judgmental, I refuse to see the signs. I refuse to see flags that maybe I should have just questioned things a little more and said, she's guilty, she killed, because I was so triggered and couldn't believe that a mother could do that. Well, they said she was a wonderful mother up until a certain point. She had to move back home with her parents at one point. It could have, Andrea Yates killed her kids because, she wanted to make sure they'd go to see God. I mean, that's how religion can be scary, because a lot of them will use those scare tactics. And then you have women that normally everybody's like, she loved her kids, or he loved his kids, or he loved his wife. No way he did this. Yet they did. And a lot of times what they're all going to, Jonestown, okay, Ed Gein had crazy Christian upbringing, as did Bundy did. Not as crazy as, Gaines was. Like if Vicky Valent, like the Mama from Waterboy, that was Ed Gein's mom. Oh, but worse. Like, she didn't, like, no, nobody was, don't look at my son.
So you guys are witnessing Bonnie's secret passion here. So
I do get animated. It's creepy. So, but all of them, a lot of the ones, Ramirez, was raised Christian. What is it? There's too much of a good thing sometimes.
Yeah, too much of a good thing.
When we're talking about principles like absolute light and absolute darkness, right? The further north you go, the closer to south you get, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we need to understand when we look at Jonestown, think about it. They were trying to build Eden, this utopia, absolute paradise. Look what come of it. These are basic psychological principles, but they're also observable within nature, dude.
And the ones that would question it in Jonestown would be punished.
Now, there's something I learned in Dragon Rouge that stuck with me, man. And it was in the very first Cliffa. And I believe it was Dr. Thomas Carlson who stated that, and I paraphrase, he stated that the demonic is in alignment with nature. The angelic are the ideals, the religious and political ideals of man. It's the man-made architecture, the man-made comforts and technologies. And this is the thing. We've been focused for 2,000 years on choosing the light side. Very few of us through the ages have followed the left hand of God or the divine or the dragon, whatever you want to call it. Either way, you're limited. Regardless, now there's this over focus on the angelic, which is what? The ideals of man. It's ideal for these specific mandates to be occurring. It's ideal for technology to exist, according to this statement of Dr. Carlson. And what are we doing? We're all in our phones constantly. You see people on Facebook who are married and they never met each other. People are replacing real world relationships. Parents don't even know their children.
If you have kids.
And this is angelic. This is the right-hand path. See, this is why there has to be balance.
Right. And when you go and work with the demonic, which is funny, and this is why I think the other side, well, don't let them, and this is why my dad, when I would ask the question, like the dinosaurs, like, oh, don't question it, especially in the House of Lord. The reason he would react so is because, well, unfortunately, like I said, when you have, and they don't even realize it, because it was like, it's one of those family generational curses. I'm starting to realize there is very much such thing. you definitely, and that's basically when people talk about karmic cycles. Family, their family will have karmic cycles, and that's
it's scientific, though. I mean, there's this biblical statement that we inherit the sins of our forefathers, right? Well, this is truth. We have to remember that you, Melvin, are a compilation of every fucking human being that preceded you in your bloodline. Every single fucking one of them.
Oh boy.
And so,
every single one of them, that genetic information is passed on. And so when a person has not evolved and they've not done alchemical and spiritual work, they're living in the lower three spheres of consciousness, that's going to be passed on as genetic imperfection.
Yeah.
Right.
When you can't accept yourself, there's no way you're going to be able to have room to accept others. And like when it comes to, you know, I guess you'd say the darker side, if you're talking about what, you know, a lot of Christianity tries to push over as evil, and that's thinking for themselves. Because see, people that work with demons, okay, if they're sick or they're having a problem with anxiety, they go and see when they're really truly working with the demonic, like, you know, like I know Kurtis says, you start realizing the things that are causing. If you're having problems with anxiety, they'll tell you the things that are causing the anxiety, how to cut them out of your life, or what you can, you know, what fruit or vegetable or what from nature you can take in to heal it. It is literally science. It is healing. It's medicine. It is relearning to reprogram. And see, the good side doesn't want you to think for yourself because they want you to have blind faith. And it's almost like it's a frowned upon to be able to, why not help yourself? Like if you are a person that you're dealing with anxiety, let me tell you, the other people around you that love you most are dealing with it too, whether you want to admit it or not. And so if you can help them, then why not? Like if you don't want to at least try to put yourself first, then put the people around you that might be have to unfortunately deal with your suffering because you can't be 100%.
Now the people around you. So I'm going to use this as a segue, because I'm not an occultist. I'm not a devil worker, worshiper, and all that stuff.
Devil worshiper,
whatever.
A demon worker.
Yeah, whatever.
Anti-super psychic demon worker.
Which is funny. I mean,
Kurtis Joseph.
That's because you didn't pat her on the butt.
Yeah.
Melvin.
So I mean, but everyone who pays attention to Unexplained knows. I say it all the time. I don't work with anything. I don't care enough. I'm too into me. But that's besides the point. In the left-hand path, the occult community, it's a lot of talk about working with one another and coming together. And the last few months, being that I'm on the outside and I can look in and I'm kind of like a ghost, I just saw hypocrites.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me wonder,
Can I say something?
Oh, go ahead.
I really don't want to lose my thought here because this is important. This is another thing where this is all really just reverse Christianity.
Yeah.
And when you look at a mirror, you're looking at polar opposites in a mirror, but they're the same fucking thing. Same thing happens with these ideas of antinomian thought. Let me tell you something, guys. As occultists, to be isolated and to learn how to be alone and to think for yourself is important. Why do you have to know how to be alone?
So you can handle yourself.
Not only that, because that's what allows you to connect to the spirit world. When you're constantly connected to the external world and people, you're not hearing the still small voice of the spirits that you're trying to conjure and call upon. But at the same time, again, we have to remember that there's also this idea of balance. We also have to be able to, when the rubber hits the road, be creating harmony through our relationships in this fucking world. And it becomes dangerous and mentally threatening, emotionally threatening to the individual when you have this ideology of antinomianism as if you can cut yourself off from this world, disassociate, and create your fucking own. Because as an individual cell on the body of the totality, you're going to die. It's what I call the Lucifer Effect. And I did steal the name from the Hobson song just because it makes sense. But it's when you think you're a fucking god, so you decide to step away from the natural order, even though you're claiming to practice magic, which is in perfect fucking alignment with nature. Supernatural means extremely fucking natural. Newsflash, folks. Anyway, I digress. I mean, I think I've made my point. It's ludicrous. We have to really understand what's going on in our minds and look at a bigger picture. Because when you are forcing these ideals and trying to always cut people down, and you have this imbalance,
right? Or screwed. You're not. There's no way it's possible that you're an ascended light warrior just because you've watched Constantine, and because evidently what you didn't watch and pay attention to on Constantine is he was able to have one foot on both sides.
Yeah, the one in the abyss.
Yes, and one on fucking earth.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, like, it's like, okay, you got the theatrical part. You got the action and, your fucking ascended ninja warrior on the astral shit. Okay? Delusion. All you want. That's fine if that's what makes you feel powerful. That's fine. However, but don't ignore the big message, the bigger message that is trying to be given. Hey, look, he has to keep himself grounded, footed, and in between. Because that is who he is. We're all both. We're neither, and we're all.
If you don't know how to throw a punch in the real world, you can't throw it on the astral plane.
Does somebody timestamp this? Just type in a number. I think I just saw an orb fly by.
Oh.
I don't know what the timestamp is.
Darn it, and I'm on another screen.
Okay.
All right, I'll just have to go back but I'm pretty sure I just saw an orb fly by.
If you saw an orb, and I always get interested in what's being said at the time of orb that it's like it got that burst of energy. But like I said, we've been, he's been working with Lucifer, and I'd always been very, very, you know what I mean, because of how I was raised. Mm-hmm. And I just started lighting his candle all the time because there was something drawing it. Because Kurtis does, certain sigil and so I just would light the candle.
Oh, thank you,
and I will tell
Alicia.
you, I've never felt such love. I've never felt such kindness. I'm like, you're me. You know what I mean? It's like, you want to love everybody. You don't want to see them hurt. But God damn it, you want to snap their necks when they don't open their fucking eyes and it's right in front of them. It's like having to watch somebody drown and you have the life.
Oh God, I don't mean to laugh, but Angie just made a comment saying the orb was Melinda's astral fart.
Oh God, Angie. Astral. Good. Hey.
Well, for the left-hand path, folks, because when people hear me say, for instance, that Christ proclaimed himself to be Lucifer, and he did rise above the throne of God, I mean, you guys don't understand that I'm still learning. I learned that, and you guys witnessed it in real time. I mentioned it as I was learning it, and I said it on this video knowing it would be on record. It wouldn't get lost. But regardless, Lucifer is so much older than Christianity. According to witch lore, he's the consort of the pagan goddess Diana. And therefore, he's not a demonic king, guys. Hate to tell you.
I wasn't aware they called him a demonic king, because I always called him an angel. I never thought he was a king. And, I know he was very unique amongst angels, but also saying that, I don't know much about angels except for we have them wrong. I think we we put them on a pedestal too much, and
Right.
I think they have their issues like we have our
And that's
issues
what's
and all
crazy
that.
with Lucifer. It has not been like he's let me come to him in just in little subtle ways, and then I get these beautiful messages like, okay, how funny that he says that. At the same time, I'm telling you guys what I don't do dream interpretations often, but it came to me like that. I was like, because I'm like,
he shines
what?
light
I was
on
like,
subconscious information.
That weird eyeball thing.
Yeah.
It blew. I'm like, wow. And because my coworkers were even laughing because it just was like, what the fuck? Like, what did you do before you went to that? How many tabs, right? Because it was, whoa. And I'm like, oh. I said, honestly, which is crazy, is I said, I know exactly I said, something was telling me that you're refusing to see what's right in front of you. Your eye will be going over here when the truth's right there, right? And then it'll wander over this way. And like, they pop it out and have to, because it's evidently, it must be foggy. And he said, she was blowing, and I'm like, buffing, and I'm going, you refuse it. It's like it's willfully ignorant, because the truth scares you because it's not what you're told, but that's okay. You know what? We survived finding out Santa Claus is around. We have survived the Tooth Fairy. We have, so it's like, it does empower us. And it was so crazy how it was put that way, with the weird eyeball. And I'm like, huh? And I'm going, wow, Lucifer, like, that was cool how you did that. You know what I mean? But my nephew was like, that makes so much sense. He says, I know exactly I know what you're talking about. Like, and I'm like, what? I just gave you a reading. I was like, okay, well, that'll be, I'll do 33. Like, it was just very odd. And it's so cute and pretty, honestly, because it was like putting it the only way that Spirit knew he would and he knew when I said it, so it like he already I could tell he pretty much already knew what it was trying to tell him. And
it's about him shining light on subconscious information. Like what I always teach people. Here's an example. I always teach people that dream interpretation. This is subconscious symbolism. That is learning to understand the language of the subconscious mind. Ritual is the act of learning how to speak it. And here's an example, because Lucifer showed me this the other day. I was at the laundromat with her, and I decided to go for a walk. And I went down to the Railroad Museum. And it caught my attention, so I look it up as a dream symbol. And it said that rusty railroad tracks essentially mean distraction and stasis in your life. And then I understood that I could take rust then from the railroad tracks, a little bit of dirt, maybe a little bit of shards of wood, grind that up in a mortar and pestle, and use that to create blockages in my enemy's work. To slow down negative circumstances that might be beginning to affect me, right? But you see how information, symbolism of the subconscious mind, directly applies to magic. People think I'm trying to fucking say this shit to fucking sound cool, like I know more. But no, dude, it's right in front of your fucking face. Look.
It's like,
I'm just showing you what's there. It's been there the whole fucking time.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of times it's weird because it's like, okay, because it's something you deep down, like when he knows that you probably already know. It's like, well, man, or like, why are you just being so stubborn? Why are you know what I mean? Like, why are you being like a Taurus? I'm just picking on you, Mel. But why is so stubborn? Why so grounded that you refuse to allow something to shake you up a bit? And so, yeah. But I do, and that railroad museum is supposed to be very haunted.
Yeah, I know. I was going to go grab some of the soil. But yeah, I mean, looking at the subconscious symbolism, you see, and this is how we learn magic, man. It's by, and you've got to spend time in nature. I drive people nuts because I could just walk for 8 fucking hours, dude. And I do sometimes. I'll just go. Because by spending time in nature, things like that will catch my attention. And because it catches my attention, that tells my conscious mind that reality is actually trying to show me something and speak to me. So I will interpret that as a dream symbol. And oftentimes, it's not only guiding my life experience, but it's also showing me elements that I can use in my magic to create change. People don't teach this directly because they don't have the fucking knowledge, man. And that's all I'm doing as a person, as an occultist, is just raising and elevating the standard of the minimum level of knowledge so that my students and everybody else can take that shit way farther.
Right. Well, and it's funny because when you're talking about that, you're talking about changing and change. Well, first thing that came to mind was the butterfly.
Butterfly effect?
No, the butterfly.
Now, just the butterfly.
You got to
the metamorphosis.
They're gorgeous. Okay, like if you're to freaking let's hear that caterpillar. It climbs up. It's climbing up. It's getting prepared, and it starts doing the cocoon, right? It's in its cocoon now. You wait a few. I can't remember the amount of days, but if you open that cocoon, all you're going to find is goo. Yeah. It literally goes and it disintegrates from what it once was. It turns. I like to think of it as like on Terminator. What was the metal, liquid metal one?
Liquid.
Yeah, the mercury one. What was it?
Are you talking about the T-1000?
The T-1000.
Yeah,
liquid metal.
So it, even though I feel like, okay, really, just honestly, it would be more of a plant, or it would be an earth, more material, right? Because it is of the elements, right? And it probably takes a little bit of each element if I'm going to be real honest. But anyway, that goo just kind of, it melts itself. It's like when you put salt on a snail, and here it is. And so because it has a change to do, because its job is to make sure it transforms from this, right? And then it is like being able to watch. If you've ever, I would love it. I know there are people out there that have, but if you have ever been able to watch a butterfly come out of its cocoon, it's like you have literally watched the phoenix rise. It has trusted its intuition. It has gotten in its position, and it has let itself go. So its ego death. But guess what? When it it covers it so that it can heal and so that it can change, right? And get naked and get all the dirt and all our traumas off.
And you know what? I'm going to use that to go back to this. That's what I actually feel the occult community needs to do.
It's be butterflies?
Yeah, well, change.
Well, it's happening. It's happening, Melvin. Everything is changing, man. I mean, it really is. I mean, I'm seeing more and more vlogs, more and more blogs, more and more books being published. I'm not going to say that it's based on my work. I'm not going to allow my head to get that big. But what I will say is everyone is waking up to the same truth as I am. That means that these outdated modus operandi are losing their grasp. The church is losing its grasp. Governments are losing their grasp. How many people left New York? I heard thousands.
Everybody becoming
thousands because of specific imposed mandates. And the Great Resignation. So many people have quit working for the man, realizing they can make money instead of earn money. And when you make money, you're expressing your self-worth. They feel good about it. It's meaningful. So there's this huge shift that is
Right.
occurring, and the only thing is people aren't seeing it on the news because these elite class people, this 1% isn't telling humanity.
And I think it's both sides seeing it, because like my cousin.
Well, it's like the deaths according to this modern pandemic, man. I mean, they were talking about all these new cases. All these new cases, but they didn't mention the fact that there were 0 deaths.
Well, no, but see, that's also, though, like I was saying with my cousin, though, you know, he's like, oh, you're stupid because you did, you got it. My work, I had to get, and I'm sorry, my family will always come first. My pride, not so much. I am asthmatic, so getting, the shot was, for me, it's not going to hurt me at this point. At this point, the fucking government, if they're going to want to kill us, if they want to kill me, I'm going to get dead. Guess that.
Yeah,
it's happening. There's not anything I can do or any, thing.
Honestly, Bonnie, I think you'll be late to your own death, so you have no worries.
You are not kidding. But
I think she'll be abducted by aliens. She won't even be here.
That's the topic, too, so.
It better be a little, like, I want a fucking, like, some kind of, like, to come and, like, you know what I mean? Like, when you leave and go on a vacation, you get to bring home a souvenir. I want, better be careful on that.
Nah, E.T.'s gonna snatch that ass up. You ain't never coming back. He's gonna come on that bike and everything.
He knows I'm scared to death of E.T.
Which is so weird, but,
My cousin, though, is one of those that doesn't want the mandates, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And we all learn, like, we become what you hate. He says it all the time. If you're overly left, you're going to start becoming just like them. If you're overly right, you're going to be if you try to balance in the middle. That's why people are like, I'm a libertarian, and everybody's like, oh, you're just a problem. It's like, no, because they're
but
literally
see, here's the issue. And again, we're looking at this from the perspective of a person that believes and only perceives through the lens of duality. We can't be afraid of COVID when we understand that we start dying the moment of conception, that life is the very process of dying.
Right.
So once you know that, dude, and it makes fucking sense, there's nothing to fear. That's why I crack up when people, they threaten me with the fact that I've got 13,000 active death curses on me. And I'm like, have y'all seen my altar?
And guess
I'm best friends with death.
Guess what? Yeah.
I've had near-death experiences numerous times. We've both had COVID.
Guess what? Still didn't get him. And that's
it didn't even slow me down from doing video.
And see, I'm asthmatic, and that's the thing. There are certain people that are more susceptible. My cousin was one of those that judges everybody. He basically called the whole COVID a hoax. And that's why you have to more pay attention to the things you say, because if source, I don't care if he calls it God or I call it Lucifer. I don't care if the name, because that doesn't matter, because it's no thing. But if we stop hating the other side so much, if we stop doing that, we're going to not pay as many hard lessons. Because my cousin, and I don't ever, I feel for him so that he lost his 22-year-old daughter
to COVID.
19. And he was just 22 years. And when I say this kid, she made me, like, if she was the Christian that came up to you, you're not going to hate her. She had a laugh and a giggle and a love for everybody. And that's it. Her story's done. And I'm watching my cousin post. He said he tried, and he's angry. He's angry at God, and I feel it. I understand, and I don't want to reach out to him, because I will be like Satan, and he knows what I know he'll feel like. And so I'm having to hold back, because I need to let him, because sometimes maybe feeling that anger is where he will learn the biggest lesson. And I hate it, because he's questioning everything he's ever believed, because I asked you for this one. I haven't really been getting a lot of the ones I've been asking for. And I'm not complaining, because I've had blind faith. and I never questioned you. It's kind of like the Tool song, or not. Sorry, it's the other one, Perfect Circle. But you never question why, because he did this for you. He like basically, you're not the one that it's because he put it. You're not the one that put the sword, that evil spear into his side. Like, so why am I in you and you guys? It's because it's not about that. That's what the fucking laws or the church itself has put on you. It's manipulating you like a toxic parent, right? It makes you think that when you're supposed to understand both sides. There are going to be people that are affected their work and their jobs because, COVID is all these stupid regulations are making it harder on the, people that are just trying to make ends meet. I've been there, but you also have to understand this is really taking people's lives. There were going to be people, my cousin's daughter was she was heavy set. There you go. Close that casket. It's scary. And anybody tells you not to be scared, but you still are kind of like, wait a minute. Like, people are dropping left and right. Cases are going up. And then, of course, over here, people are bitching about what's going on. Number one, you're being distracted. So fear not, okay? And in every religion, both sides, dark and light, will teach you to fear not. Fear not. What is the scripture? And then Belial, basically, anytime you work with Belial, you'll realize fear is not your friend.
No.
Well, now you got me freaking thinking.
I'm sorry.
Well, Belial even brought this up in Black Alchemy of Belial, man, where he was taught. No, it was Lucifer in the Alchemy of Halo and Horn. He brought up how essentially people believe that fear is necessary.
That's for control. That's to control you.
In dangerous situations. But Lucifer pointed out that fear really comes from a social construct and attachments of the ego. That the adrenal response that enables us to survive doesn't happen necessarily because of fear. It's because of the presence of danger. Right? Fear will cloud one's judgment. So the goal is to understand that adrenal response, there still has to be this emotional control. So again, it's like walking this fine line, this horse's hair.
Yeah, it almost...
But, people don't understand, dude, that an effective black magician actually lives by the Bible better than most Christians do.
Yeah, it almost sounds like use your logic and don't panic in a way. And a lot of people, we don't use logic at times, especially if we're coming upon a dangerous situation. We do panic, and it's like, oh gosh, it's hard to remain calm under pressure.
Well, it is, but we need to understand that. And when the United States of America was founded, military power was in the hands of the people, the citizens. We, the people, the militias, were the military. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now there's this military war machine, and that power has been given over to an elite few. Man, where's the damn logic in that? Shit, I forgot where I was even going with that statement. What were you talking about beforehand?
I'm sorry, the flames was catching me. There are some. I'm feeling very. I will say, working with Lucifer and finally getting over that fear. That's why I'm like, there is a different kind of peace when you've opened up to even the idea of working with him.
You sure it's not the cranberry juice, Bonnie?
No, unfortunately, the last few days it's felt like cranberry juice without cranberry juice. But it's not in a scary kind of way. Like, I've had experience, like you teased me before, like, I have my segment moments when I worked with segment.
Yes.
It got wild, but Because like earlier today, I was more kind of connecting with that. This, like you said, it's almost like you said first there. You've been working with something.
Yeah.
Because I've been that, you know.
You're
when
on
super
one.
psychic,
We'll just put it that
I'm
way.
I'm sorry, but that's like the super psychic was out of line. It's one ugly, vile video attacking another person that intimidates her. You know, I like I said, Teal Swan, there's things I've listened to and I really enjoy the person, and then there's others that it's like, girl, now you sound like you, you know what I mean? It's like, so you have to be careful. Like if it sounds like you need a little more medicine and less yoga.
You know what? Actually, this is going to take us to something from a video Kurtis did the other day, and I commented on it. And it was a part that just really touched me, and it was mental health and doing magic and you know, being in the occult and everything. And who is responsible for watching out for those who might be mentally unstable and performing or trying to get in contact with these.
You see it and you know it. You were the one. And that's the thing, because it's funny. Even there's a saying that I got when I listened to Marcus Parks from last podcast on left. I think you heard it too. Mental illness is not your fault. You know what I mean? It's like you didn't ask for this, but it is your responsibility. And we went back to that earlier, because let me tell you, your illnesses are going to reflect on your whole family, and then feeding into it with something like magic. Okay, like super psychic, she's letting people, you know, she tells these wild, crazy stories that I'm just sorry. It's like a manga version of Constantine, but with a twist of supernatural. And, you know, of course, Lorraine and Ed Warren are both there, and Elvis is her husband.
The timestamps that somebody timestamped that.
Oh,
I saw that one very clearly.
Is it Elvis? I'm sorry. The spirit of Elvis, y'all. No,
Elvis is not gonna visit.
Elvis is not.
My grandma's cousin is an Elvis impersonator. Like, I've got PTSD when it comes to Elvis.
Well, maybe it was Ed Warren. He's coming to be my guide.
Thank you very much.
You might.
Why can't it be like Spawn or the Eliminator?
No, but she did do Spawnish shit. I mean, she's astral projecting and shit. Like, what? Like, I bet.
But look, the mental illness, though, here's what we need to understand. When we are working with the occult, we are effecting and opening up specific doorways in our mind. This can create instability within an already mentally unstable person. So, for instance, well, I don't want to put anybody's. I'm just going to use this general example. If I get blamed for someone, because I wrote a book on sex magic, and I get blamed for someone raping someone and saying that I called rape magic, that would be wrong. That's just not logical, right? I'm not responsible. But if that individual comes to me and says that he wants to start learning magic, and I am obligated, because he's paid me to teach him, and he starts revealing things that might make me question whether or not his sexual urges are unhealthy, then I am obligated to tell that person that they need to seek a mental health professional, a therapist, a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever they tell you to do, and that I'm going to need to hear from a doctor before I can continue to teach you. And as a responsible spiritual teacher, that's just something
you're going to know. And if you are truly intuitive and you were truly enlightened to do that, you will know, and it will give you that, my spidey senses, because spidey senses are real.
Yeah, but there's a difference between being a super psychic and actually having the intuition to understand that the person contacting you is not really suffering from demonic obsession.
I'll be honest. To
It's
me,
mental illness, and you are not telling them you need help. You're irresponsible, and you're dangerous.
Super
you're occult.
Psychic's own fans to me are honestly guilty of what's it called when you give an alcoholic alcohol? What's it called?
Enabling.
That yes, because I'm unless they have meant really heavy more, I would have to say even more so than she does. If they're more diluted, then okay, it is what it is, right? People, a lot of like energy attracts like energy, right? Anyway, well, the ones that realize it ain't, the ones that like her and don't say anything, you gotta question yourself, sweets. Just saying, because guess what? You call yourself a fan and you tell her you care about her and love her, yet you're not telling her that it makes her look like she needs to be tied up in two fucking, what's it called, straight jackets, thrown in a padded room, and just the key thrown away. I work at an institution, right? And they have the old rooms that were, well, they weren't padded. That's what's even creepier, because it's like, yeah, go ahead and knock yourself out. Like back in the day, I don't care. It's like, no, that's concrete. Do you have fun? You know? And some of these people have been truly traumatized. Raped as children, babies, not babies. Okay? Some of these people have literally been, you always hear about the babies that are left in a trash can. I know some. And they might, in my opinion, they might have been okay, and there is something that's shred from them at that moment, because it's the subconscious has to know that it is being discarded. You're no better than this trash that needs to be outside on the curb. Don't think that I do. I think that does something, and it just changes the wiring.
Well, Belial talked about this, and he called this vibrational contagion. But this is real science. It's harmonic resonance, right? It's environmental stimulus. Like if you water and fertilize a plant the way it's supposed to be, it will grow and it will flourish due to that environmental stimulus. However, if you chop all the fucking limbs off and you keep kicking it and you don't allow anything to ever grow back, the environmental stimulus essentially says, nope, you're not going to grow. So a lot of this really comes down to environmental stimulus. People are made, in some cases, evil. They're made that way. Mental instability is created through environmental stimulus that comes from specific families, abuses,
right,
childhood traumas.
Right.
But let's not go there, because those things exist, and we bring attention to those things to take the educational system, which makes people really less intelligent, the pharmaceutical industry, which actually makes money by making people and keeping people perpetually sick. Right? Let's really look at all this in actual perspective with logic, and let's not be spoon-fed from it.
Right. And when we go back to the thing, like, okay, like something, and like basically with everything, when it comes to good and evil and balance, and basically kind of like everything that we've kind of been getting off and on with Lucifer recently, it's like, first of all, and I used to have this as my religion and might still on Facebook, but it's like, what is my fucking religion is to not be an asshole. I want to love everybody, understand everybody, and sometimes that does mean I have to open myself to having compassion and understanding for people that might make me a little like with Casey Anthony. I realized I was a little more lucky than she was.
Order of the Brown Eye Heretic.
Mm-hmm. I literally, though, no, it's weird, though, because when it comes to the toxic families, like, the first thing, then when Casey had Kaylee, her mother held the baby. My mom didn't because, sorry. Well, I mean, and I literally, they said I had my first purse. I've been doing it forever. It was weird. It was just, but, so there was no way I would have fought her. But even now, though, she's trying to be a parent now, give my child, because, especially when you're a teenager and you're going to go over here and you can get away with everything, guess what? Now, my sister, myself, no, I would have never gotten it. My mother, and I'm going to say this here, oof, my stomach's flipping. When you are so worried about your own family, and what people say or think about you, number one, fuck what Curtis thinks about me, and fuck what Curtis thinks about you. Melvin, fuck what you think about me, and fuck anybody. And they need to say fuck everybody. The only person you're accountable to is you at the end of the fucking day. Because number one, if I take care of me, I'll make sure that I'm in check, that I don't affect everybody around me. So because of my mother's pride and so fear of the truth being known, sorry, I don't want to get emotional because this is just, I still, to this day, I don't understand why any parent would do this to a child. And I guess I've known she was manipulative, but I would forget those things almost on purpose, like the eyeball, refusing to see it. My mom, okay, so my dad was an alcoholic. He is not now. He's a strong man, but karma, he's more spiritual than I think he likes to admit. I'm more like him. And because he sees his spirituality is more of the Native American. He's like, I could accept it better if you called it the Great Spirit. Like, and I get it. It's like, well, if that's what you want me to call it, deal. Because we were basically talking about the same thing and not call it, he just needed it. But instead of just seeing for what it is, he was looking around, right? But he drank a lot. So he was not, I thought my dad had no wrong, but I knew that he was alcoholic, and I knew I didn't like the way he made me feel, and I knew that I didn't like the energy and how everybody was walking on eggshells. I knew those things didn't feel good and make me happy, but I loved him, and I didn't want to see any wrong in him. And if I was ever questioned it, I was told, well, you are so ungrateful. Everybody would love to have a father like you have, and da 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 da. Like, I was not even supposed to question the things that he was doing, the things that he was saying, the amount of alcohol, where I was at 12 years old watching and making sure he didn't fall in the swimming pool and drown because I was afraid he would drown. How was I supposed to, if something like that would have happened? Y'all know me enough to know I'm going to jump in before I call the 911. And it's probably not going to end well, so it's a good thing he never did. Thank you, Daddy. But it's bad, okay? Now, my sister basically was me now, kind of rebellious, don't give a fuck. But now she's the one that's too goody-goody, too worried about my opinion, won't say anything. It's sad, but it's like, why would she go? I came out of a cell, and it's like she went in. It's like she wants to, those people, they call them, they want to be institutionalized.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're safer on the inside.
It's not really.
Matrixy.
Well, when you're a kid, you're rebelling against your parents because your parents are giving you rules. But when you move out of the house and you're still dependent on mommy and daddy's money, yeah, all of a sudden you're a good girl. Because now you don't actually have to be accountable. Not only are you saved by the blood of the lamb, but you're saved by daddy's wallet.
Well, and what's funny is I was the one that needed
it,
but I was still like this.
Whoever.
Because I was like, I will rather, I'll be hungry. Like I don't think I have any, I do have a little bit of Taurus in me, I believe. But you would think I was hardcore when it comes to, when you make me feel like I am a burden, or if you even imply that, I'm like, bitch, I don't need it. Never mind. I think there was one time I asked my dad for toilet paper, and I'm like, we'll be fine. We got some leaves. We'll be okay. And of course, I found out the count of pennies. I figured it out. But, like, you're not going to dangle toilet. No, never. It's not happening. You are not going to manipulate me. So this was how I was raised. My dad, he basically, what happened is, my sister basically said, fuck you, when she was 16, sorry. And they tried to say he said he didn't close his fist, he hit her like this with an open palm of her. But
that sucks.
That my sister swears he put, at this point, you're an alcoholic and you're a known liar. You're trying to make me pick between, I don't pick between two lesser evils here.
I'm gonna start bobbing and weaving.
I get upset because this one hits me. This one really gets to me because I should have known a long time ago. I accepted it, but because of my eyeballs that went away, I just didn't. But anyway, my sister had to be taken to the hospital or the doctor the next day because she couldn't hear. He almost had busted her eardrum. My mom told the doctor that I got mad and fought my sister, and I did it.
Talk about manipulation, right?
She put me, like, it's literally like, if think about three innocent people that's on court, going, on trial for something everybody knows they didn't do.
They still gonna
nobody says nothing, but they're still gonna call her guilty. Yep. How I didn't see it, because I was their scapegoat. Lucifer was what?
Well, that was Azazel.
It was Azazel. Well, you're right.
But if he was Jesus, this is the thing. Azazel is connected to Jesus in that way too. Mm-hmm. Jesus was a scapegoat.
I think realizing that.
I love bringing up trivial shit like that.
It takes a lot. It took so much for me to realize at that point. And so when you no longer allow yourself to be manipulated, you're not going to worry about what others think, much less you're not going to worry about how those other religions look at you, because that's what you already realized, their own fault. And the only thing that you get irritated about and passionate about is because you realize, because you've been there, that your own ignorance and your own, narrow-mindedness, that you were once that stubborn that nobody was going to tell you different, and they have to learn. It's like you're going to have to watch them drown. It'll be, what was that song in the 90s? It's, I'll be watching you drown. It's hot. What was it? Superman's. Who was that did it? I think the same people that sang Superman's Dead. But it's like, basically, I'll be waving my hand, watching you drown, trying to breathe silent or loud, something like that. It's really neat because it's like, sorry, like, I help me help you, but there's just going to be, you can't help everybody.
You know what?
Open-minded, that's the best thing you can do to help others and open yourself.
Is that why a lot of occultists seem to just have a hard life? Like, I notice pretty much everyone who gets into doing magic or speaking to demons or angels, whatever, every person seems to have. We
are the weirdos, mister.
A hard life.
Back in the 90s, they said it when the craft was kind of, it was peeking its toes, and it's like, how's the world going to respond? We're the weirdos, mister, and it's still to this day. I have a
well, you know what? This is actually something I say in the story, which hopefully next year everyone will know. It's not so much that you're the weirdos. You know the saying, fish out of water. It's not that you're a fish out of water. Everyone else is out of water. You're in the fish tank. You see things for what it is. Everyone else.
They're in the fishbowl. I'm in the ocean, bro.
Well, okay, you could be in the ocean, but
yeah, the fishbowl mentality is not okay because, like, well, I always think of a goldfish and they say it forgets what it's learned.
But the point is, you're able to see beyond. You're able to feel beyond, and you're not letting life dictate, or even letting people dictate your route, or say you have to do it like this or that. And it's a sucky life because it seems like it's painful and, betrayal and just mess. But at the same time, you have a sense of freedom, you have a sense of understanding, and
that's why I feel like
choose your direction.
With my cousin, because he's my family, there is something on when it comes to psychically. There's several of us of the cousins that have gifts. It's weird because we're all born basically one after the other. So a lot of my cousins are my exact age. Like there's 8 of us, or no, there's 5 of us, and then there's the next year there's a couple more. And then when we had kids, it was all the same too. It was all weird, too like timed at times. And so I know that he's one of the very first spirits that I ever saw, and it was one of the very most scariest visions I've ever given. But think of it now. I was a kid and I was on a Native American, and it was actually a grave area. So it's just my little blonde-haired, blue-eyed mind did not understand, because all I saw was a skull sticking out. It was actually great, but I saw a skull, and it was like, me and my cousin went and explained it to the grown-ups. We both were saying, it has hair, and it's got a beard. But we were both telling our own dads, and they went, well, what did they tell you? And it was like the same story. And we both took them back to the grave, and it was no longer there.
Oh.
I today don't know what it was, and I get chills. But the thing is, right now, I know he's having a moment that if I come at him, I'm just going to be like the book, the version where he's only heard, here comes the snake, trying to deceive you. And if there is peace that he can find in the way that I have, with understanding the balance of all, not both, all, he will be more peaceful than he's ever had. Even though it's only going to be a fragment of the way that it could have ever been, because he is missing a child now. And that's the thing about the left hand path, and that he will find is when he opens himself up, they already understand that. You've already had part of your soul ripped away. How will you ever be the same? You're never going to be whole again. It's okay. But we're going to make everything else that you still have left, we're going to empower it and strengthen it and help you grow again.
And that's the thing. We all come in here, and this young woman came in here with a life purpose.
Yes.
And she, if she hadn't served it, she wouldn't be gone.
If she hadn't been an impactful first person, you wouldn't worry. I mean, it would be like sad, but it's sad. But when you know it's somebody that's loving.
And then people say, well, then you're talking about fate, so you can't believe in magic. But I beg to differ. I mean, there's even scientific theories stating that time is actually moving backwards, and we're perceiving it moving forward. I mean, that's fucking ridiculous, but that would mean that the ritual actually is a predecessor to the outcome. Therefore, we cannot question whether or not, according to that theory, magic is real, because it's cause and effect right in front of our fucking eyes.
Well, I mean, if you really want to get scientific, it's weird because what is it when you stare at a spoon? You're upside down or whatever it is, and it's because I can't remember. It's like this weird theory or whatever behind it, and maybe it's fact. It's a lot because it's like, okay, well, maybe we're upside down. Yeah, like we're upside down.
Shit.
Yeah. But it's like you're upside down actually, and it's like, wait, my hair's lying. You're like. Somebody's great, but there's something about the reflection, and when you said that, it's interesting because it makes a lot of sense.
Going back to the spirits real quick, because apparently you had another visitor, which I always get on you about because you just take home random spirits. What was up with that? Like you passed it over? What's going on there?
It's funny because I told him he's going to start, being around me. It will open him up to that side. I said, he said, oh no, because I said, no, I'm telling you, be prepared. Because it will happen. Anybody that's around me, if you have mediumship abilities, they will. You build us.
Again, that's why we're meeting at a burger joint.
But so they, it is kind of like the field of dreams. They will. They know that there's somebody there that they are needing to communicate to, or they just want to for whatever fucking reason. I noticed he had gotten an app, and he's been using it, and it's actually a really interesting. You'll have to post it or
Ghost Talk.
Ghost Talk.
Yeah.
And maybe link that, but it was interesting because it said his name.
And it said specific people. And here's what's interesting about
Very
this thing.
specific.
Intuitively, here's how it works. Spiritual information, it'll pick it up and describe it in single words. So you really still have to be intuitively in tune to be able to interpret the single words as single tarot cards in a spread. Sort of like that. Same principles, right? But it will let you know that it's talking to you, that it ain't fucking around, that it's not random words, because it brought up specific people. First of all, my name. Right. And then specific people who think that they're significant enough to be my enemies. And it just...
Well, the one night on Yule, we were doing Yule stuff, and it was like I was over there, doing the altar and stuff, and he's messing with that, and he goes he said it just said candle. It was literally. It was weird. We sounded like Zach and Aaron. What? What did it say? Because it is that, and people always like, oh, why did they get excited because it is exciting when they're actually like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, when a cat walks in the room and it says kitten.
Yeah, and the cat starts chasing something they
right. I mean, you just know this thing, it's interacting.
It's
the spirits will let you know.
Excited.
And that's how, I started to understand, I gotta literally, I learned how to do shit through experience, and I dig deep. I find the working mechanics, And because I've studied divination and I've used tarot as a means of self-exploration, meditation, they're like mandalas to me. I see a lot of things like that. So these individual words were really no different than the image on a tarot card. It contains information that I have to interpret. And then I started to be able to do that with each specific word. And then I saw how it was literally forming impressions through the list that was made available to me. So it's interesting. IT, I think, is one way that I would like to push. I don't want to say push. I would like to present IT in my occult courses. Because it hasn't really been done.
Right, and that's what's interesting with us, both of us. Him having the, because that's one thing I wanted. It's like that's why I learned. I went to the, this side, the witchy side of things, because number one, to help when goes get a little fucking out of hand. I'm like, let's just don't. You're not hearing me anymore. So now I have to light something, and I don't know what's the proper something to light because. The sage people, I love you, but no. Yeah. And so it's crazy. And so meeting him, it helped me to really be able to dive in both sides, and him as well, though, because he didn't think he had it. I'm like, no. Even if you have it like a teeny tiny bit, you're going to have it a lot more now. And it's just because, I guess because, quote unquote, I'm being a medium, you're kind of like this middle. So you help other people. There is a lot of mediums out there that can help other people teach others to connect. But you need to do it the right way, not in super psychics kind of way. But it's not easy, right? So and we push. And what's funny is we both will kind of have ideas that we both are kind of thinking, and all right,
like
what
Richard
are we?
Ramirez.
Ramirez. Okay, so let's do things, knowing that I have the letter. So let's pull out the letter because it's his. I do know that my magic tells me that he is putting his self, he is putting his essence into this letter when he's writing it. It is written by his hand. His mind, his emotions are being put forth on that paper. So if I put some of, we're going to add alchemy, we'll put some special oils that are blended to even make that energy stronger. I put it on the corners of the page, and then I put it on the corners of the Ouija board. Get his air sign mind out of trying to question everything, blindfold him so that he can truly relax enough to connect, and getting valid messages. And almost like it is you learn like there's certain shows that you'll realize that's more his real personality, because he did have, I'm not going to call it quirky because that's giving him way too much. He did have a weird humor, dark humor, but there was times that he can be a little humorous, but it also, though, he pushes it to where he had been complaining about side pain, and I'm like, he's showing you, I say, because me being a physical medium, there are times that I've learned what being stabbed feels like.
I was being stabbed by Richard Ramirez, dude. So I immediate ritual, boom, I'm calling upon Mikael, I'm calling upon Raphael to heal astral wounds. I'm binding the soul of Richard Ramirez.
I'm saying this being jabbed.
You know what I mean?
And you said you found that we'd put this little knife in there with him, right?
And that's what he was using. I gave him a weapon. Because he was employed for a specific reason. So he was given a weapon. And he still had the weapon. So I took that weapon away. And ever since, I've had no problems with it. But here's what's fucked up is now, there's times where I will have experiences of combat and shit in lucid dream states. You will encounter very threatening things on the astral planes, and you'll have to get the fuck out of Dodge because there's very bad neighborhoods in the astral planes. It's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But now, since that shit happened, I'm more aware of it in my physical life.
The real people.
So when I feel now, I'm more sensitive to spiritual attacks. And it just gives me more power as a witch. Another example is the God helmet.
We'll have to do a video on that soon.
Like, imagine, I plan on doing a video with the God helmet, but it's been used within in paranormal investigation. But this is something that can be applied in magic as you're evoking a spirit. And then when you have, like, for instance, a full spectrum camera, 1111.
That's what I just said. Also, explain the God helmet. It's a program, and it was done actually by he was a neurosurgeon, and it's crazy because he was trying to figure out ways to, with EMF, not oddly, to like retrain their brain, like the traumatized brain, and give them peace. Well, what he did was, when these people would put this on and test it, they would have these experiences that they could only explain as being in the same presence as God.
Right.
Because they're like, their experiences is crazy.
I bring it up simply for this fact. Me as an occultist, I can spend hours and hours in meditative states. Most people, they will warn against using something like the God helmet for too long. It'll fry you. Me, it's nothing. It's nothing.
And there's others, though, who don't feel bad if you do need to take, because the one lady they actually do an example on one of the episodes of Hellier, Hellier. And because it was funny, it was supposed to be kind of like a paranormal, they thought, investigation, and it turns out it goes into the Mothman prophecy type things, to where they're like, okay, I think this might be an alien, and I'm like, y'all said it, and they use the God helmet along with the Gonspell, and it was impressive,
Yeah, and how it works is essentially you're placing electrodes in various parts of the brain. Sometimes the frontal lobe, sometimes the electrodes. There's like certain patterns that you can use to create specific effects in the meat of the brain, which gives you a specific mental experience.
Yeah, so the EMF's being triggered, like, you know what I mean? And it's, I was expecting, I guess, the hearing test when you're in school, the beep, boop, boop, you know? And I'm like, you might hear a, like, but it's, you don't really hear much. It's, and you try to make sure that you don't have a lot of noise. Like, if you want to really amp it up, you add red light, because it does call to the spirit world. And I'm sorry, I'm just reminding myself of, what is it, Young Guns? In the spirit world. I'm sorry,
when they were tripping nuts.
Yeah, he was.
Well, I mean, see, and this is the thing. The God helmet. I mean, I was all about it, dude. Like, I'm like, as an occultist, this is fucking. I've got to. So she's like, well, we got to figure out how to hook it up. I'm like, I'm a Gemini, yo. I got this. I immediately start looking all this shit up. I figure out how to hook up the electrodes and shit. And I'm like, okay. We turn on the program. We only used, a 25-minute one, which is supposedly, through my research, pretty demanding. But immediately I noticed that this book that was sent to me by Mark, his latest book on Cain, I started seeing spiritual energies moving around this fucking book, and I started seeing orbs move around. I'm like, oh shit. I immediately started connecting to patrons and entities associated with that text, and it just happened lickety split.
And I think it is one of those things, I will add, that if you are not used to being a channeler or channeling things, might just, it would, and it's not going to hurt anyways to get somebody, because we're there for each other. And I tell them, if I get on it, because of me being a physical medium, you watch for this, this, and this, because if I said, I don't want to get jump. So if I start acting weird, just like, all right, take it off. And the same thing. So you might want to have what I call it as a spotter, or spiritual spotter, or whatever, somebody that can kind of just intuitively also read the room and make sure that nothing is really connecting a little too much for the person that is, hey man, I didn't ask for all this type stuff. Because that machine, that program, what he did, and has been actually, there had been people that have had less depression since they use it. It can, I mean, so it's not like it's going to hurt anybody, using it. You just, for some people, you don't want to use the hour program every other day.
Mm-hmm.
The lady from Hellier said that she would have, she said she would be in a brain fog for the next 10 days. She knew that, so she would always do it because she was the most familiar with it. However, she would always be like, okay, I just know I'm going to be tired and be getting crazy, and also you'll be getting crazy downloads. That's probably why you're tired too. I just felt cold air move past me. But that's also, it's like probably, I mean, she's tired because of the downloads as well, because when spirit is constantly just it does take some effect on your physical body. And that's kind of why, Kurtis has had some of the, I know that he's done a lot of videos that are very beneficial, trying to, remind you of those things. So, it's a neat, is it a program? A tool. It's a neat tool for divination, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just awesome for occult application in general. And, I really think in regard to paranormal investigation, look, if spirituality is evolving and human consciousness is saying, look, angels and demons are really the same thing. They are aspects of the human psyche. They just are. They're a part of us. Crowley said it at one point. McGregor Mathers said it. He said, when you call on Mikael, you are calling on a specific sort of potential. Mikael is an office, not a name. Just like Satan is a title. Just like God is a title. What God? What's God's name? Right? So regardless, man, it's an awesome piece of technology to allow paranormal investigation to start asking the right fucking questions.
No,
Right.
I'm very,
and how
very
do
curious
we,
about that.
okay, if good and evil don't exist, maybe we need to start approaching this differently and stop trying to exorcise demons and instead see how they can work for us in return for libations, in return for incense. May I seat you in this crystal and take you home.
You know, for people that look for, you know, because Satan, there, but it's because people that do understand that that's that is an energy. There is this energy of Satan, right? And so if people are, that would be the perfect way to connect with it, because there is something EMF with that energy, and that's how a lot of people. I have a YouTuber or a TikToker friend that she is a Satanist, but like some of the stuff she gets is so, it's like a buffed up Lucifer.
I think I'm gonna write my next 2 grimoires this year wearing that fucking god helmet.
That would be neat.
Yeah.
And
I'm just telling my secrets and shit. I got lots of them, so I'm just dropping it to these motherfuckers. I'm so far ahead of the game, they don't even know. If
anybody that's willing to do the work that the God helmet would take, because the God helmet, it's a program, and you have to set it up each time.
You know what?
It's not hard.
I want to do an experiment with you guys now.
Heck yeah.
Sure.
And that is in regards to, I think, contacting whatever it is that watches you from beyond this planet.
Okay.
I bet you can connect, because I think that they are, I mean, they're physical, but also spiritual.
I'll have to have you watch. We can do something similar that they did on Hellier, which was very interesting. One of us could be in the setup Gonspell, right, where no sound, or if any sound with binaural, with the ping pong balls over the eyes and blindfolded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Red light, of course. Mouth mask, the Gonspell, right? So and one of us do that, and the other one be with because it is earbuds that come with the helmet, the earbuds and the probes, right? But basically being back to back, and maybe you doing questions.
Yeah, because I'm
and
curious about
what
that.
I watched with Hellier, it would start making them to communicate. And she goes, one of the neatest things, she goes, oh my gosh, they don't communicate like we do. The way she goes, the way they communicate so beautiful. They do it with emotions and colors and pictures, like a sunflower or a bright yellow, like a bright red rose. That's how, and she was like, oh, I got chills from that. But it was interesting. That episode was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And it was funny because it was the Mothman, his other name that he went under as, I guess, more of a human. I can't remember the whole Mothman story. But anyway, it was interesting the amount of shit that was being talked between the two. And then it was like it started flowing. And the other person would throw in a question when they got the chance. But and that other person would even read tarot cards, and the tarot cards were symbolic of what was going on. It was crazy. It was really interesting to watch.
Yeah, we have to do that experiment. Because I'm really thinking, because, okay, so Bonnie, whenever I mention aliens to you, it's because I have a feeling you're going to get a visit. And, but interestingly enough, I didn't say it was for you. I said it was for one of your kids. And I think he's still going to get a visit. But what was that?
No, I wouldn't doubt it. No.
But anyway, saying that, how do you feel now from a couple of years ago when we first spoke about ETs and you were scared out of your mind to
I'm
now?
not. I'm more comfortable because what I'm learning is they're part of me. Part of you and him. It's the minute they connected with this planet, with us as humans, sorry, they become part of us. So if I want to accept myself, I have to accept every part.
Well, if we are created through the manipulations of some primal gene, which has been integrated with alien genetic code And we know, for instance, that we all have a reptilian brainstem.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all reptilian. I mean, yeah, we share the same quintessence. The genetic code, even by science, is called the Book of Life. We're all written in it. We're all a part of it. So, yeah, that's why I don't really fear them. But I don't fear a lot of people. I'm not really intimidated by anybody. It still doesn't mean that serial killers don't exist.
No, and it's different. I mean, like, I might be taken aback, and I might have to tell my brain to not, like, remember, it's nothing to fear. But at the end of the day, yeah. Well, for a person,
get fucked up. I might attack.
But it's like you do have to remind yourself that. Well, you do have, but if you are able to have the balance enough to realize that, hey, stop, don't panic. You already know this is nothing to panic over. And that's part of when you go through lessons like this, you realize that you kind of have to control that fear so it can tell yourself it's nothing to fear right now. Don't be afraid of this. So
that's interesting to say.
I'm not
going to lie. I will say that I will have to probably, it's okay, especially if I see something, I'll be like, it's okay. His little gray, slimy, creepy dolphin skin, we're good.
Slimy dolphin skin.
It has to be dolphin skin, or maybe.
Well, actually, according to Rose, yes. Some grays, they have that dolphin skin, so yes.
I probably have experienced it.
But
I'm so good at putting trauma elsewhere.
But that's interesting that you say see them, though, because I do think you're getting to that point, and Kurtis, by extension, you will be at that point.
I mean, we've already had experiences where I've connected with something extraterrestrial.
And if you remember, it was a lot. Yeah, he was he thought he was having a heart attack.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, and that's the problem, though, is trying to figure out which extraterrestrial you're connecting with. You know, that's the craziest thing. And unfortunately, because we don't know much about them, we come up with all these crazy ideas and
speculation.
And you know, it's some of it's just ridiculous. Like, oh yeah, I'll use Pleiadians as an example. Like, oh yes, the Pleiadians, they're so beautiful and they're humanoid and they love peace, soul, and all that. It's like, well, that sounds very romanticized, and I don't think you should do that exactly. You know, because
you know what's funny is when he had that experience, he very much in the same way would talk kind of how this chick from Hellier was meant. I can't remember her name, but she was saying it was very simplistic. It sounded so it was like our brain wants to overthink it, but it was trying to relate and relay, you know, using the way we communicate and communicate to him. And it was weird because he was saying things that he would see, and it was very one red rose, or I see a dark hallway, or you know what I mean. It was very color. I mean, it was very descriptive of color and smell. Like she said, it was almost an emotion.
Yeah, but you know, it's crazy because see, I have the same experiences with spirits that I'm working with, and this is why sometimes I wonder. I mean, Crowley and others, Kenneth Grant, they pretty much alluded to the fact that these aren't spirits that we're calling, they're alien intelligences. When you look at Aiwass, Aleister Crowley's holy guardian angel, it was a gray alien, dude. There's no denying it. There's no denying it.
Yeah.
It just was. Nobody can deny that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm a big believer that, you know, spirits, aliens, connected, same thing, almost, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're not physical, though, which doesn't mean that they're not somehow biological. They might not have three-dimensional biology, but it doesn't mean that they're not biological. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the one I worked with...
But yeah, it really was very...
She was holographic. And the one that I work with, Holly, she's almost holographic.
Kurtis, did you ever see the realization, Bonnie's realization with Holly?
No.
Oh, I'm going to have to
Well, because I thought she basically kind of presented herself to me first. She looked like a nun, but in blue. She wore light blue, so she almost looked like, I'd say, Mary in a way. So I'm like, I'm not feeling too threatened by her. She was always protective. She'd help me through, my post-rape and all this, and my early first walkthroughs on paranormal places, which were extremely active. One of them being the one that got me on the paranormal caught on camera. So I was kind of like, I was like, look at her, she's Mary. Like, why would I be scared of her? And then I realized I never really saw her face. I just saw you know what I mean? And then, like, I started realizing also there would be a lot of times she would kind of come at that hologram, like, Luke, you're our only hope. Like she made me that. And I'm going,
like Princess Leia.
I said, what the fuck? I said, oh my God,
yeah.
I think she might be an alien.
My stupid butt. And I have this on recording. I've told her, because I always tell everyone, it's something about the eyes. I don't know what it is, but it's something about the eyes.
I finally had seen them, and they were big and very, very, almost almond-shaped black.
Yeah.
She wasn't ugly. They had the spark, I remember telling that.
Yeah.
She had the spark in them that alone was beauty.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing but love and compassion and wanting to help. It's us ascended in a way. Truly ascended beyond people. You know what I mean? It's like we really have to get through a lot to be at that. It's because that love and protection. And it's funny because she would also step back at times that she knew you know what I mean? It's like knowing how to be a very good parent enough to let them learn their lessons, yet also prevent them from being killed by some fucking crazy killer.
Yeah.
Balance.
I don't know, man. The thing is, I don't like to talk about things like aliens because there's just certain shit that people disappear for. And I'm grateful for my life experience. But what I'm going to say is that people really don't think logically and they don't really understand. And I've contacted specific alien entities. And again, this is why I sort of believe that these other beings we call spirits are the same. But what I'm going to say is what they have told me is, no, you're not a fucking Palladium.
Yeah.
You're a fucking human being. Don't be stupid. These people are saying that we are incarnating on your planet. Motherfucker, if we wanted to come here, if we wanted to be on Earth, we just go. Yeah. We don't have to die to incarnate as a fucking human being. You guys are new age stupid people. And this is why we want nothing to fucking do with you. And this is why your nukes are getting shut down because you're dumb enough to push the button. And this is why, this long list of y'all are fucked up.
That's one of them ugly.
You know what I mean? And people don't want to fucking hear it.
Well,
but
that's why they call it bad. Well, that's because that's the ones that people are afraid of. Probably, your reptilians. Oh, they're evil. Because they're giving you fucking facts and you just don't like it. Because there are also many species of aliens, right? You have, like the Pleiadians are all sweet.
Well,
and they're not like
they're not. I
they're
can't say they're exactly sweet. You got to remember, allegedly, Pleiadians worked with Hitler. Allegedly. So I can't say they're all sweet. You have to look at it like this. Yes, they are more spiritual and advanced from a technological point of view, but they're still living beings. They make mistakes. They have their own individual thoughts. It doesn't mean that, they're all super, super, super wise and all that. It's just, it's not that way.
No, you're right. And here's the thing. We got to understand that according to science, free will is a fucking illusion. Right? So, and that's for us as human beings. So there's insight that I've gotten. It's pretty much implied that the Greys are the future of human beings. That's what they're doing to us right now. They are creating biological robots, drones, automatic.
I've heard a couple of theories about that.
But the subconscious mind, every decision, every thought, word, and deed is predicated 99% of the time. It's 99 point something. 99% of the time, to give the benefit of the doubt, it is predicated on the subconscious mind. And people are taught to fear the demonic, so they're taught to fear the subconscious.
You don't question things.
And so for that reason, we look at logos, which means knowledge, gnosis, logos or logos. They surround us on all these businesses, on our cars, on our stereos, on cigarettes. They're on everything. These affect our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is programmed by political and religious ideas. It's programmed by an uneducational system that doesn't teach us to learn. It does not stimulate our intelligence. It actually merely teaches us to memorize facts. Memorizing facts has nothing to do with fucking intelligence. It has nothing to do with your ability to fucking think. So with all that in mind, the free will, it don't exist. So why do grays exist? Because that's what we're turning into.
And you said you've heard something similar?
Yeah, I've heard similar things, but different. Peter Maxwell Flattery, actually, he's an interesting guy when it comes to the alien talk. But with grays, you got to remember, it's several types of grays. You have Orion, you have Zeta, you have blues, etc., etc. One of the theories was that Zeta grays are actually humans from the future. Like, it is us. Somehow we evolved into that. And they have come back to either stop whatever caused them, humanity, to become that, or just make it happen quicker. One or the other.
Well, and there's theories that these wormholes that people will step into where people just go missing and there's no...
Like the Bermuda Triangle?
So, I'm not... It does sound like one of those, okay. But at the same time, then explain a person going missing out of the fucking blue.
Well, not just a person.
And nothing left of them. Like, they are almost...
Fuck the person, the entire ships. You know?
Yeah.
Like, entire planes.
Yeah. So...
Never to be seen again.
Well, and maybe that's things where, like, you know, your sea dragons or your fucking Bigfoot, like maybe Bigfoot swims. I don't know. I don't know at all. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm not a super psychic, but those type of wormholes. Maybe that's what these portals, other creatures. Yeah. And that's why people only certain ones experience them, and it's like it's always the time you don't have a camera because, like, you know, you're not expecting it, and it's just because it happens to be at a certain time of day, a moment. The moon is at a certain setting, and it makes it to where it walks right through. And then it keeps going on to its own realm or dimension, right? But yet, for that fragment of a moment, somebody experienced what was. Now, I don't know if something was ever happened to where the hole gets broken and it can't get back, or vice versa. But that's some weird super sci-fi movie stuff.
Yeah, we're not fucking Pleiadians. I'm sorry. I hate to burst the New Age bubble. We're just not. If they wanted to be here, they just come here. Yeah. They're not going to die just to incarnate here. Now, we might be connected genetically. But it doesn't matter. You're still not a fucking Pleiadian because just because they put blood. They say everybody comes from Africa. Everybody. It doesn't make me an African. In my previous life, if I was a Norse or a Scandinavian person, right, I'm still not that now. So even if I was previously a Pleiadian and I did incarnate here on Earth, I'm still not a fucking Pleiadian.
Right. Well, and then, okay, where people might get that or feel more connected, and this might be, but it's like, it doesn't mean you're going to go... It's
the savior that everybody wants.
Right.
And it don't fucking exist. It enables people to be unaccountable.
The reality
In order to change the world, we got to be accountable, right?
Right. Well, and the reality is, if there has been some modification, it is because maybe they are coming to try to help us, and they're like, y'all need some of our DNA because y'all are fucked up. Okay, and so maybe they do take, and I feel like this could be a thing because when people, like, and my dad is one, he was in the Vietnam as a ASA, armored security agency. He had higher clearance than the president, and I know that they Agent Orange, and they would, there's all kinds of testing and blood work and this and that, and if they were to inject it, because when my dad was in Vietnam before, before I was born, and like so maybe they changed his code, right? And therefore it affected my sister and I, and that's why we both are very open to the other side. Maybe it does give people, we're all capable of gifts. That's not it. Everybody is capable, but maybe it makes ours more open to where, bam, we're hearing fucking knocks on the walls and stuff because they know there's something more open about us, as opposed to somebody that might not have quite as much of that in there. And it's, but it's not because you were born from a different planet. It is more because you have been infused with it, and it may want you to have occult knowledge. It may want you to look up everything that Aleister Crowley's written because it makes sense to you, or follow different occultists, or for the psychically minded, it's like they start watching different tarot readers, that intuition alone, because it's that part of that. I do feel like certain minds like that are way open. Probably there you go. There's your code, or there's your quote, that special stuff that everybody thinks, oh, I got a certain blood type. If you do,
So we're gonna wrap it up a little bit. But before we do, it's 3 things. The first couple of comments that I wanted to say because I thought it was funny. Angie, she said that random thing happened a few minutes ago. I was checking some memes and I sneezed and my finger accidentally clicked open a picture and it said "bless you."
Weird. That is super cool though. That is neat. Wow. How, and see, I've known, working with Angie, when I have, it's been awesome because she was, it's so funny because Angie is just I love her because it's usually the ones that are very gifted or the ones that are more humble. Like, she was so intimidated to read, and he was like, no, because what she was saying was making sense. It's like, just keep going. Like, don't doubt yourself now. It's fun to watch people grow like that, especially when spirit just knows how to talk to them.
And
to be like, I'm still here, yo.
And
it's really fun.
Paranormal Witch here, we're not going to be able to answer this, but she says, how do we know what kind of alien visits this planet? We're going to leave you on a cliffhanger because there's no way to really answer that.
I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question.
It's a great
honestly,
question.
We're aliens, guys. We are alien. Look up the definition of a parasite.
Humans.
A parasite is an alien. We are parasitic. If we belonged on this planet and we originated on this planet, we would not be destroying this planet. A person will not destroy their own environment when they depend on it to survive. An animal will not. An entity on this world will not. Human beings do. We are the definition of a parasite or an alien species. We do not originate from this fucking place. And a lot of these beings we call aliens, they've probably been here a lot longer than we have.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest.
I mean, take this into account. Being able to travel 300 light years. All right. So just by that alone, and if you add in the value of space and the way the Earth has aged over time, I mean, it's just bleh.
Right.
And the third thing, before we get to Bonnie, she's pulling some cars. They're popping like crazy. Before we get to that,
I'm asking what is in store for next year for Unexplained.
Oh, okay. So this is something I don't think I've asked before, but I'm going to do it now since Kurtis, you're here. What type of occultist do you think I would be? Or what field do you think I should look into based off what you know from my personality and the few times we've spoken?
Honestly, I would tell you to actually look into formal schooling and education in regard to the metaphysics, parapsychology, things like that. I see you as a practicing occultist jumping into it through that sort of study, honestly, intuitively. But to be honest, I know you're one who is creative. You like to write stories. You believe in science. You believe in logic. So I think chaos magic would be fitting for you. Because you can do things more creatively and still have an ideological and logical premise and philosophy behind it.
Now, it's funny you say that because I'm currently reading through some books to review, and what do we have here? Introduction to Chaos Magic.
Oh, wow. That is interesting.
Well, it's interesting because Peter Carroll actually teaches at a specific college online.
And you just said Peter Carroll. What do we have here? So,
and it's not coincidence, man. I was talking to U Yen, one of my students, the other day, and she brought up a question, man. And I brought up how the ancient Egyptians, there's this depiction of Anubis with the scales, right? The heart being weighed against the feather. And the idea behind this is that the Egyptians believed that they thought with two organs, the heart and the brain. The feather represents air or the intellect, the brain. The heart represents the heart. What the scales have in between them, this is the middle. Dock, it's the abyss, right? And you have to cross that to unite these two organs to be able to actually think through a divine perspective. And she's like, Kurtis, this is insane. I pulled this card this morning. It was just on my desk. And it was a tarot card, 2 of cups, I believe. And it was Anubis. The 2 cups were the scales, 1 with the heart. So yeah, dude, the coincidence, I've been experiencing so much of it lately, man. And this is what I'm saying. This is about connecting to nature and allowing our consciousness to expand with the universe. The synchronicity, it's not coincidence.
So, well, that was pretty good. What you got, Bonnie?
For Unexplained Possibilities for 2022. And the first few cards are definitely about kind of like, it's the past. We have the 3 of Hearts. Like, there has been, the 3 of Swords. I always call it 3 of Hearts. But, and what's funny is this is how do you say it? Something correct? Anatomically correct. Anatomically correct. And I like that because I feel like you've had ups and downs, and some of the downs have literally, like, emotionally made you hurt. Because, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, man, like, I'm trying to do a thing, and I'm wanting people to just, enjoy my thing, and I'm wanting people to be inspired by my thing, right? And then I feel like you would kind of, like, we have this Knight of Swords, also air energy as well. All right, I'm gonna go do it. It's like you'll get like inspired and really go for it, and then be like, right? And this is all kind of the past. Now, I feel like right here, we're walking away from this. What this card is, we have the eight of Cups. It's already in the past. That build up, let down, build up. You know what I mean? All that crazy, chaotic. Like, right? This is almost, it's beautiful. And it's it's a brave card, but it's also kind of chaotic if it's driven by 3 of Swords, which is, being, if it's for the wrong reasons or whatnot, right? We believe it, finally behind and walk past it. And right now you have which I think this is great. We have, and it's two of them, we have the Page of Wands. Sorry, and that's called that air energy, but that is the other one. But this is actually what air energy, Wands is air energy. The other one is actually
Well,
fire.
I thought wands were fire.
But that one to me was more air, either way.
Yeah.
That one just is air, look, the clouds and shit. But this one is somebody. And I think this may have been the last frontier medium. The next, actually, there's 4 cards.
Bring that card back up.
This is the messenger trying to fight for what's right. You know what I mean? And I'm going to go tell what you did. Right? I want to push you in the poorhouse. I want to bring you to where you feel like you have nowhere, you're in utter despair and you have nowhere to go and nowhere to turn. You're looking for shelter. You're looking for comfort with that 5 of Pentacles. This is what that message, the Page's message, was meant to do. However, what I feel like this has opened doors because we have the Page also of Cups. Look at all that. And this actually, even though it's cup, it actually has a lot of air in it too, which can mean it moves, it pushes faster. It actually gets things going and let's mush, it's like
the cup is still water, the air.
Right, you can put, if it's windy outside, you can put a ball and the ball's going to roll around, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It helps it move along, right? This new message. So your message, we got your message. We're listening to what he has to say. Because even though it's like when they open the door to she puts and tags your video there, they can click on it and enjoy the fuck out of it. So even though it was meant, this gossip was meant to hurt you, it actually helped you. And we have to start.
It's the second most viewed video. Oh, there's Pearl.
The star, and star, what she is hopeful, and Pearl is the guy you work most with that is always trying to line up shit for you and help you out, right? Give you hope, give you inspiration, and bring out everything that your possibilities, not unexplained, but your possibilities. And this is what's crazy. We had mentioned this actual being earlier, because what happens from that, the Knights. Okay, so the Knights to me they're a lot of times inspirational. They're all like, even though they're different representations, we have of each different direct, card, earth, air, wind, or earth, water, fire. Yeah. This one has a little bit of air, a little bit of fire. It is a wand. It's the Knight of Wands, but look, we have transformation. We have almost like a phoenix.
Oh, yeah.
Something has there is a transformation happening because of this message, right? So it's like this knight is, so even though, it's still the same knight, look, it's still a knight. It's still a knight. But this knight is transformed from just chaotic to more driven. We have purpose now. This transformation is your purpose.
Well, here's another interesting synchronicity. The Phoenix, let me see that card. Mm-hmm. There's 3 beasts in Revelation. I used to use the names of each of these beasts on my triangle of manifestation when I was working with Belial. And it's Leviathan, Behemoth, and Ziz. Ziz is the Banu bird, or the Phoenix. The Phoenix is what the adept becomes after crossing the abyss, when they see the gateway to the city of pyramids. They perceive the city of pyramids. So the Phoenix crossing the abyss, we were talking about how uniting the heart by crossing Da, which is at the throat chakra, to unite it with the Agna chakra, or the brain. This is definitely synchronistic.
Is it not beautiful? It's beautiful. The card itself is, and what I love is that.
So there's a message in that.
There's an air, fire. It's like once it starts, it's almost like wildfire, because when you put air on fire, guess what? It is going to spread. It's going to. And so it's like she's really gonna fuck herself up over this, but you know, you live and learn. And what shows it's even to me, it's like this is a happy. Is this a little happy? Kind of one of the happily ever after cards we have, because there's so much balance. There's the 4 of Wands.
Oh.
There's
That's
a rabbit.
11.
11, yeah. And then what's rabbit symbolic of?
Fertility.
Growth, okay.
Specifically fertility. Yeah.
Wow. Balance. And it's almost because you're going to feel so comfortable. It has that, like I've said many times, it's like a stool. If you don't have 4 legs on the stool, it's not going to balance. You aren't going to be as apt to sit on it. It's going to be like when I went to Margaritaville, like Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville, their bar stools were fucking swings, were the round tire swings, and it's like, that's a dumb idea for me to do. So it's like, don't sit on the 3. You want 4 legs to make it stable.
Yeah, and what I'm also being told intuitively about the rabbit is that the rabbit hops. So yeah, there's still ups and downs. But as he's experiencing these ups and downs, he's directing them towards his destination regardless.
Right. And there's only beautiful colors. It's like, the movement of this is very interesting because it's like, maybe not so much, maybe what has happened has helped a transformation of you, because it's going to build up your own, what is it? It's like you've never been an egotistical person ever, but it's going to make you real, be a little, you're going to be proud, and it's okay to be proud. And it's, what's it called? When you have assurance or self-esteem, self-confidence, it is going to build up your confidence, and and I feel like it's even going to inspire you. Well, there we go. The transformation,
yeah, that's what steps you on your north node. You know what I mean? If you're working for the man, you're not on your north node, yo. There's a difference between, dude, I tell people this constantly. I haven't worked for the man in a long time. There's a difference between earning money and making money. When you have self-confidence, that is part of the great work. That's part of the magic, because that's what allows you to achieve that sort of independence, and to start realizing that what you do and what you're good at is a part of your self-worth.
Yeah.
And that you can receive monetary energy from it because you're worth something.
Right.
And people are the real resource in this world.
And he's not saying, hey, everybody go stop your jobs or anything, but
well, that's happening regardless.
And there are ways out there. So if there are ways that you would like to change, go for it. Now, don't do anything crap.
You guys don't know it, but this just went full circle for me.
What?
You don't know it. I'm not going to share what, but it went full circle.
Wow.
It really...
No coincidence, brother. I'm telling you.
And if you want a reading back, no, just kidding. No, it's weird because, though, it's like I keep hearing, and I'm going to have to say it before, but there was a song in the 90s. It was by, the album was Frog Stomp. It was Silverchair, and it was like, tomorrow. He goes, money don't buy everything, but it sure is nice to have it. It's like, you can't buy things. You can't buy gnosis. You can't buy spirituality. There are so many things that are way worth more than any penny could ever have worth, that doesn't cost shit. But it's like that song says, but you sure need to have it. It's really nice to have it because you can buy your essentials. You can buy food. I mean, like, I feel like, and it's been telling him, I was like, I want to be a minimalist. Like, I just want my tarot cards and my paranormal stuff and just fuck everything else. Maybe a TV, because I am kind of bad. But it's weird. It's like, because what is stuff doing? Why do we have so much stuff? I mean, if you use your stuff, that's great. that means that it is beneficial and it's actually due. But like if it's just sitting around,
it's really
dust,
creating energy blockages in your
energy blockages. It can make you sick because if it's sitting there collecting dust and you don't dust it all the time and you live in a like and there's other people that might even enjoy it and you might bless it. I don't know. It's like I want to be a minimalist. He's like okay. It was just that's the weird shit he has to deal with me. I might just want to. I'm being a minimalist. Let's throw everything away.
I've done it numerous
times.
And
it's because and that's the thing with ego. It's like, well, and a lot of mine was because the mental things that I was programmed as a kid. It's like what? Like my family had me terrified. I was at one point, like I would throw away bubble wrappers, but it was getting, like if somebody had handed me a card, a birthday card, I couldn't, because one day I'd look back at it after they died and I'm like, why? Like, why is that significant? My memories of these people are more important than me crying over a fucking stupid, hey, happy 7th birthday, girl. You know, like, no, stop being, that's too much. But my mother would always make me feel like I was very, very ungrateful. And so it was like me, I would do the complete hardcore opposite. You know what I mean? Like, I was the type that I had to watch, you know, because you can be addicted to so many things. Like if I wanted to lose 5 pounds, I ended up anorexic, you know? Mm-hmm. So I have to be careful because when I apply I am good at what I do. When I apply myself, it's bad. And it's funny the lessons we learn in life. It's like not the prettiest ones.
So closing words, anything.
Be a nice human.
Be a nice human.
Yeah, I mean, to be truly divine, we need to understand that true divinity is just simply to be an effective human being. I say it all the time. And that whether you're working on the left-hand path or the right-hand path, whether you're working with angels or whether you're working with demons, if you don't have that inner light, and if you're not whole, if you're not holy, if you're not whole, if you're not complete, and you don't embrace the light as well as the darkness, no angel or demon is really gonna give you the depth of knowledge that they could if you were more open.
This is what we have happen if the spirit comes around. He has to protect us.
So that's really it, guys. It's really about finding balance, understanding that we all have something to learn from one another. That's a part of expansion of human consciousness, and that's how we evolve.
That was Lucifer straight. That's why the dog, he responds a lot, and he will come and like making sure that, are you okay? Because when spirit comes and does that kind of stuff, it's funny. You can start noticing little stuff, especially with animals, because they're so perceptive.
Wow.
He came in here and he, like, if you could see, he is standing in front of both of us protecting. It's cute.
You see, you have a good dog. Sweet Pea's just been asleep this entire time doing nothing.
No, cats don't fucking give a shit, man. They'll see him and like, oh yeah, like swat at the
like the one dude. One time, I'm in the middle of filming a YouTube video. The cat climbs up on my shoulder and turns around and shows everyone his butt.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Right up on my face, man.
I saw that.
So. But they know. Well, and you know that Kiro would do the same thing. Anytime if I lit a candle, he was like, bloop, and he would do this. It was like this perp, it was weird. But it was his only chirp he ever did. He didn't really meow ever. And so especially if I pulled out one of my black mirrors or my scrying mirrors and lit in, that cat would be like, and would look in the mirror. I have pictures, and I think they're on my Facebook, where he is literally scrying, because he knows something's going on. And I think he's also the cat I have pictures of that channels on my Ouija board, chill out. But I think that they're attracted to, like, maybe the board has a warmth that he can feel when you can, because it was always the boards that I've used. I mean, I've used all my boards except for the one that was prison made. Because I'm just not. It just doesn't sound smart.
Yeah.
Not
Probably
yet.
should avoid that. But yeah, no, Sweet Pea doesn't
Oh
do
no, it was
anything.
made with somebody's blood. Yeah. And we had tape over it, so it's like kindness.
Kurtis, where can people check you out, find Soul Science?
Yeah, just come see me on YouTube, Kurtis Joseph. Yep. You can check me out there. We also are starting. Yeah, Kurtis with a K. We're also starting to do a lot more on Patreon. Yeah, just hit me up there, definitely. I love to see people on YouTube and interact. I appreciate the questions. They're always welcome, you know, because it helps me to create the content, and it ensures that I'm serving people how they want to be served. So.
And I don't know if that was a bug, or what, but something else just went. So I don't know. And you guys be sure to check it out. Links in the description. Bonnie, what about you?
Readings, you know, basically you can still message me normal, but there, you know, some of that may be changing pretty soon. I'll be available in more areas. I'll say that. Other than that, like we do plan on. We've kind of been talking about it, different places we could go. Hopefully, we will be kind of dipping more next year. You know, I've talked them into going different paranormal locations. Maybe we can get Melvin to do us a little what's it called when you do like, hey, everybody choose for us like a different poll, like a poll.
Oh, a poll. Yeah.
Because I would like. I'm thinking so either the Sally House.
Take a poll on where to go.
Mm-hmm. So the Sally House. What's the one in New York? That one makes me a little nervous even. But the home that their cars will, even to this day, have a hard time. They couldn't get rid of the bees. God dang it. It's up north. Huh?
What? Not that. No, I'm thinking of the farm. That's not it.
Tim has gone there.
Not the Perron resident. Not that one.
No, not the Perron. But so it's either going to be like Sally House, the one in upstate New York.
Hinsdale?
Huh?
Is it Hinsdale?
Hinsdale.
All right.
Hinsdale.
Alicia
yes.
got that, so give credit to her.
Sorry. Who did?
Alicia.
Yay, you're so good. There also, I'm trying to think of ones. I want ones that will push him a little bit, and so I'm trying to, like the more intense ones, the ones I know that bump. Possibly like where The Shining was filmed, which is it Estes? I know it's in Estes, Colorado. Possibly that, and honestly, what more people are drawn to do, but or what was the other one? Oh, the axe murder, the Valeska axe murder house.
Okay, well, you have quite a few things coming up, or eventually coming up.
Start with one. Oh, well, and then, you know, of course, like, I know the sanatoriums are a little bit harder. Oh, Mackie. That might be fun.
Oh, Kurtis,
Bob
you
Mackie.
don't know what you walked yourself into now.
Shut. Bob Mackie. Put that one.
Oh, wow.
No. Don't do it.
Anyway, if you'd like to check out any of Bonnie's stuff, her links are in the description as well. And thank you guys for joining us for this last show of 2021. Yes, it was a long one, intentionally so. But thank you guys so much on behalf of Niema and Unexplained Possibilities. Man, you guys are awesome. And remember, there are things that go bump in the night. For the last time in 2021, tell them hi. Bye, everybody, and see you next year.
Later.